I'll go YouTube and see if we are live. Oh yeah, I gotta do all this shit.
All
Why?
this shit.
There's like 40 clicks I gotta do.
That's what their tagline should be for fiber supplements. Do all this shit. Like, get it all out.
I saw you watch Picard.
Yeah.
Oh,
Today.
yeah, I forgot that came out. Not that I have access to it, but how is it?
Well, we'll talk about it.
No. I was about to say I want Nathan's unedited review. His
All right, Nathan, say
how
some
is it?
stuff.
Hello,
Well,
hello,
we'll talk about
hello, hello. We're here.
I was about to say I want Nathan's unedited review. His
All right, Nathan, say
how
some
is it?
stuff.
Hello,
Well,
hello,
we'll talk about
hello, hello.
Okay, we're live.
All right. From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Green.
You are dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it? Whether we're young or old.
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop up your head.
And welcome. Oh, wait a minute. And welcome to the American Green Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Colin.
Andrew?
Looked like I wasn't coming through there for a second. Okay, good. So we're all here. Glad everyone's come to join us on YouTube. Talk about the state of the world. It's going to be an all impeachment hearings episode.
We're gonna pay our,
Not getting enough of that.
we're gonna play our favorite follies and clips from from the impeachment.
The first episode is from the conservative perspective.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus Christ! Is that gonna be 5 minutes long?
We're gonna be talking,
No!
We're going to be talking a lot of QAnon. We're going to be having some Q drops live on the show so we can get everyone. I was talking to someone at work, and I don't know why. I think they engaged me about the impeachment hearing, and what was coming up and what was going on, and they of course were talking to me about, well, have you've heard about QAnon? I was like, oh god, yeah, I've heard about it, and he was telling me some stuff that was said about all this is all predicted, because that's like some weird thing, and I was saying, the last impeachment we had with Nixon was
Not the Clinton one?
no, the one where the guy actually quit. Not where he got censured for getting a blowjob. When Mark Felt was talking to Woodward and Bernstein, he didn't just show up in a parking garage and just start doing like weird stream of consciousness slam poetry or whatever this Q stuff is. Like, he clearly said things and they wrote it down and reported it about what was going on in the Nixon White House and everything. It wasn't just this random bizarre bullshit. And this guy didn't know who Mark Felt was and didn't know who Woodward and Bernstein were. I was like, okay, I'm just wasting my time. But then I was thinking that'd be a great David Lynch movie if they just reshot the Watergate impeachment and Mark Felt just showed up in a parking lot and just started babbling nonsense.
Just
They would write it down and have to decode it all. Like
to-
he was in the Bible and stuff, and do those string charts that people do on the wall, and it still had the same result. Like nothing. But Mark Felt would show up and be like, the soccer balls say this, and the goose faces west, and on midnight, look what the answer to the crossword puzzle. It was just a whole total stream of like slam poetry nonsense.
and any moment of silence is just filled with interpretive dance while he's dressed in a Mickey Mouse costume.
Yeah, or in the background, but nobody's paying attention because this guy's just standing here, not making eye contact, looking straight ahead in the parking lot, and just babbling nonsense. It's like, well, okay, that would be a modern interpretation of, what this all means for everyone.
Did you see the new David Lynch movie?
No, I haven't.
It's on Netflix.
Oh, well, I didn't know they had another one out. Okay.
Well, it's not a full movie. It's like a 15-minute short film.
Oh, is it pretty coherent and put together?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Looking forward to that.
It's it's called it's What Did Jack Do? Yeah,
Okay.
what did Jack do? And it's David Lynch, sort of almost as like his character from Twin Peaks, interrogating a talking monkey, over a murder, and it's hitting him and his relationship with a chicken. And then there's an interpretive dance scene. It's not interpretive dance, just like he starts singing at one point.
Yeah. David Lynch does?
No, the monkey.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted to do it. Okay. Yeah.
It's great.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to check that out. But if David Lynch is out there, I know he's a big fan of the show. We can get on this Watergate thing. Because that would be a perfect reflect, and set it in modern times. Don't explain why Nixon is still president. Have all the events, but have it in modern times, and just have this guy come out and give, Mark Felt cue drops in a parking garage to Woodward and Bernstein in this bizarre doublespeak. Because why not?
Okay, Nathan, here we go.
And I'll show up and play all three characters and dress in a leotard and do the interpretive dance. Whatever you want.
I learned tonight when the Bernie Sanders supporters showed up to my door to talk to us for like 10 minutes about the caucuses in another week, that I guess a lot of the volunteers for a lot of the political candidates are from out of state right now. Like the guy we were talking to was from Chicago, and the guy, a couple of the people.
Did George Soros pay here?
Well, I just figured when he did like volunteers and shit, it was mostly local, not like, oh, we bust in people from other fucking states to come bother you all night or whatever.
Yeah, it's people who like trust fund kids who have time to go and caucus for.
Trust fund kids who want to campaign for socialism.
Because he was like, oh, do you guys have time to volunteer? I'm like, no, I have a full-time job I need to be at. Like,
I gotta go do a podcast. Guys, they're kind of bitter. One of them may or may not be a Nazi. We don't know which one, and
it's kind of a guessing game we play every week just to try and keep things.
Who's the Nazi?
I want to say it's the guy with the swastika flag in the background, but I think that might be trying to distract me from the actual clues.
He's always talking about the shape of skull and human. We don't know what it means, but yeah, I'm for Bernie. Fuck it, why not?
Well, because he kept like asking us, how long do you think it's gonna? How many people are going with you to the caucus? I'm like, well, just us two. We don't have anybody else that lives around here that'll go to the same polling place we will. And then he was like, well, what time are you gonna leave? I'm like, what? And like, it's like,
well, you gonna rob my house? Fuck you, go away.
Well, because he had his phone out and he was punching all this stuff in to put it on, like, all his other stuff, because he was like, oh, are you a big Sanders supporter? It's like, well, we got the yard sign, the 2 bumper stickers, monthly donations, and everything else.
For Trump.
No, that's our Deion Sanders support sign.
It's like, nope, totally. I mean, to be fair, the way he came from, the snow was totally covering up the sign, at least, but the bumper sticker should have been a dead giveaway, but I guess not. But yeah.
I get that. I went around one year, and this was life affirming, because the union used to have like a meet the workers, talk, and that was. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. It's like, oh shit! I just stared into the void. I mean, most people were cool, but the people that were like, and this was when it was Obama versus McCain. Yeah, some of these guys, some of these iron worker guys were really like. Yeah, I don't know. John McCain. Yeah, he represents something. What did they say? Anyway, this guy's like he's going to get corruption out of politics. I'm thinking the guy with 11 houses that started 6 wars. This guy's going to get us. Okay, this guy's going to take us home, and he's like, I don't know about Barack Obama. It's like, what do you not know about him? What do you? That's what I'm here for. Just ask me anything you want to know about him. And what he means for working people in America.
Well, his middle name's Hussein. Explain that to me.
I got asked that before, and I was like, well, yeah, we all have. My middle name's Patrick. I mean, we all got.
You don't see me car bombing in Dublin.
Yeah, I'm not running around throwing bombs in Belfast. So, has nothing to do with me. Never was there. Yeah, that was. And some people just slam the door. It's like I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be on anyone's list. It's like, what do you think I'm doing? I'm here with like a Barack Obama T-shirt with UAW stuff. It's like I'm not some government agent trying to infiltrate just 300-pound spy. Yeah. Yeah, I never did that again. So it's like, oh fuck everything. This is useless. Then I get the people that come to my door and we have long conversations. Come in the house, have some, I got some chili on. What are you guys doing? It's cold outside. But our primaries are later. This is the first year of the open primary in Michigan, where you can just show up and declare when you get there and vote in either primary. So we'll see what happens. I don't know who's running against Trump.
Well, there wasn't one guy that wanted to, but then he's not supposed to be on any ballots anywhere because the Republican Party disavowed any mention of him anywhere. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because he was out and out saying like Trump's a horrible person. Why do you keep backing him? And they're obviously not going for it. So. Like, so I mean, yeah, I had to register here, and I made my wife do it too because I guess there's been a lot of kicking people off the voter rolls again and stuff like that.
Oh,
again.
doing that shit again, yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing that stuff again. So now, since I've re-registered as a Democrat, because they had me again as a Republican, even though I've been registered as a Democrat for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I was only a Republican when I first registered. So I was like, oh, okay. And then fucking, like, oh. So I've been just getting nonstop texts from everybody and their mom about Democratic candidates.
Because I'm still an active member of the NRA, yes, I am.
Yeah.
I get weird, like I get really conflicting mailers to my house, like the Democrats' world plan to take our weapons away, and then I'll get something from the Republican Party, and so I know they're just keying off information, but I've never registered as anything but a Democrat my whole life, but I still get the weird. It's like, well, he's in the NRA, he must be a Nazi. I get the Second Amendment. That's it. I'm not, again, don't want to build border concentration camps. I don't want to see people killed. Not my thing.
Well, until 2 months ago, like every other week, I got an important email from the president about his great plans for our country and shit. It's like, will you join Trump in kicking out all the immigrants or whatever? And it was like, no. And it was like,
I like dark shit they get, like a lot of that down south. It's like they're coming for our children. Like people, I don't think they do that anymore, but they used to, back before the internet and people would post stuff online. They had weird campaign literature down south that you didn't see anywhere else, and it was lots of Bible verses. Now they just say it on whatever website they're on. But yeah, they used to have weird stuff. Because I remember when we lived in Arkansas, the guy wanted to bring. He was running for governor against Clinton, and it was basically like a segregation platform. Like they were gonna, like states' rights. It didn't say segregation; it said states' rights. But this was the guy where they had to send the army down there to integrate the schools in Little Rock. This is the same guy was trying to run against Clinton when we lived there, and it was like states' rights first. It's like, oh, they're gonna bring back segregation. Okay, I see.
yeah, because that's how you can tell they're racist. They say states' rights.
Yeah, well, it's always that. Like states' rights. We're going to give you medical care, or our state chooses to give free education to any adult that wants to engage. No, it's never that states' rights. It's always, some kind of pseudo Klan. Like,
just like guns and no abortions.
Yeah. It's all right for people that can't afford to have children to have as many as possible, but we're not going to give them any wealth. Fuck.
Treat your guns better than your children.
George Carlin's line, like the Republicans love you for 9 months and don't give a fuck about you for 6 years. It's like we only care about the unborn. The born, you're fucked. But, yeah, that was that. What other weird thing? Oh, coronavirus.
Yep.
It's here. No, I mean it's like actually here where I live. So,
Oh, really?
well, yeah, we have this huge Chinese population here, and they're. What did the thing say today? They've sent 15 tests to the CDC. Nothing verified yet, but yeah.
Oh, because the only thing I heard this morning when I was watching the Chinese nurse and her translated self-made video in like a break room or something at a hospital where she said 90,000 people are infected there or whatever now and 87 dead. Because they said there was one in Georgia they were testing for, Florida, and I don't remember them saying Michigan. Maybe they did and I missed it. Because I saw the...
This is from the, let's see, where did I get this? This actually came across my phone. Washtenaw County Health Commission. Yeah, that's the, because they'll tell you everything. Because we have like, oh, what does it say here? We have 15 active cases of measles in Washtenaw County. We have rubella, 2 active cases, and then yeah, under coronavirus it says not confirmed, but tests have been sent out. And that was as of 6 p.m. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, it's good that the Chinese government uploaded the genome for it like right away, so everybody has access to what the disease looks like and try to come up with cures or other treatments.
You want to know something weird, though? Here's something weird I read. This is verified. Sounds like a conspiracy theory. It's not. The only level 4 bio research facility in China is in what city? Take a guess.
Oh,
Wuhan, where the outbreak occurred. The only and level 4 bio research is basically bioweapons. We have 4 of them in the United States. We have 2 at USAMRIID, 1 at Plum Island, 1 at the CDC. Because these things cost millions and millions of dollars to build. So I mean, we say it's for protection and researching diseases. Those are what bioweapons research facilities. And the SARS and MSHR, the other bad thing. See, those are all coronaviruses. They're all in that family.
yeah.
This is actually called Corona Novel.
It's a short story.
Yeah, it's a short story. It's going to be a very short story if it's as lethal as you say. But yeah, that's. But yeah, just not to be conspiracy minded, but just the only bioweapons research lab in China is outside this city where it started. But that doesn't mean anything. It just means that like, oh, we were here and we could work on it. So it's like, good thing we built this lab here.
Well, to go along with the conspiracy theory part of that, for the first 2 days of any known infection of it, all they did was jail people and silence journalists from talking about it. So you know that only.
Well, remember
Helps.
what was the old guy giving the speech about how we handle with the reactor blowing up? It's like we cut the phone lines, we stop the panic from spreading. This is the way it will be. And everyone's like, yeah. So yeah, that's how those governments deal with that. And yeah, I don't know how our government deals with it. Just, yeah, I mean, people are so dumb here. You just spread any story. The Jesus virus.
Yeah, the fictional mass killing virus I came up with is was that they were giving it actually wasn't a virus, it was like something where people found like the fountain of youth. Whatever.
Okay.
Somebody that existed or in some form or something of it and they synthesized it. Put it in the flu vaccine and all these old people started dying because we needed to like cull the population or whatever.
Yeah.
But technically the thing was like it was making the old people younger and thus somehow it was like shrinking their arteries, but their arteries have like 67 years of clogging in them. And so they died healthier than they actually lived, but they died from experience.
Oh.
So it's like this guy's like 40 years old, but he has 70 years worth of cholesterol in him or whatever.
There was one more thing I wanted to say about that. What was it? Oh, I heard this was in retaliation for the Facebook translate error that came up where it translated President Xing in Chinese. If it translated it from English to Chinese as President Shithole. Our mistake. We're sorry. So they think he released this to, punish.
Blame America for a private corporation.
Yeah.
I guess, are they publicly traded? They have to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They have some ridiculous stock value.
Yeah.
I mean, it's debatable whether Google and Facebook and any of those are. I mean, their profits are private, but yeah.
Oh, I forgot that was another one of my contemporaries. Mark Zuckerberg is the same age as me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
No,
But
it's not.
if you're gonna judge yourself to that,
Oh, I'm
standard-
not, but-
okay, I was gonna say, like, why are you judging yourself to that?
No, me and Nathan are talking about like what we compare ourselves to, at least in some way. And like Nathan's was Alex Jones, the
Yeah.
same age. I was like, I thought Alex Jones was like 10 years older than you, and he's like, yeah, that's why it's good.
About that.
I was
a or and I am too, but it's not as obvious.
And it was like my contemporaries are like it was LeBron James and somebody else and Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I guess I've never really looked up who's the same age as I am or whatever, so I've never really had that thought.
I don't care. It's like every once in a while you'll go on Aaron Movie Database and they'll have like some celebrity's birthday or whatever, and it's
Oh.
like, oh, they're either way older than I thought, which they usually are, or they're like the same age.
I forget how I found out how old Alex Jones was. I think it was accidental. Or maybe I was following him on Facebook and it said, today is Alex's birthday. And it's like, what? His birthday is close to mine. And then not only that, but his birth year is close to mine. I was like, that guy's my age? Holy fuck. Like, I know I look older, but I don't look like that old. But I'm
Well-
also not like
I don't know. It's like Alex Jones doesn't necessarily look like that old, but he also like just seems an indeterminate age.
Yeah, I mean, he could be a guy from anywhere from like 40 to 58.
yeah.
Somewhere in that realm. But he's, you know, when you're that worked up all the time, even if it's an act, which I'm starting to think it is, it's like that takes a lot out of you just to be. I haven't been that excited. I forget when the last time I went on a screaming rampage in this house was. I mean, it's been within the last month, but I'm not doing it like every day.
When you're an angry corporeal tomato as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, you know.
They're eating the children. It's like, what? No. It's like, this is entertaining, but
And you should be eating this bar that I sell at my personal web store.
Yeah.
Have my bone dust protein powder.
yeah,
I-
they're weird. Someone was there that I listened to on another podcast, and they're like neither pro nor con. They're kind of like Joe Rogan. It's like, I like the guy. I think some of his stuff's a little wacky. But the guy was saying, who the fuck was it? Which podcast? I don't know. But he said, like, there's a weird energy to that place. Like, everyone's nice, but they seem like this is like in a bunker right before the end. And it's like everyone sort of has that mentality. And it's like, well, yeah, no shit, because they're talking about the war, the coming this, and they're just playing, like, you know, the...
Are you talking about the InfoWars place?
Yeah,
Okay.
InfoWars. It's like, yeah, there's a weird energy there. It's like, well, yeah, that's a weird place.
I think it'd be more disconcerting to walk in and it's like a really well lit and everyone's really cheery and happy and it's like everybody's singing a tune and then it just goes into Sandy Hook was a conspiracy. It's like no dead children and they go back to like whistling a tune and talking about the great dings of the day. It's like I think that'd be more disconcerting. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the world of events for this week.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jeff Bezos getting hacked by the Saudis.
No, I don't even know. I mean, I knew it happened, but I don't know anything about it. They're trying to get us Lord of the Rings material.
No, because they're the ones that supposedly leaked the photos that proved he was cheating on his wife and stuff like that.
Oh, is this the Saudi intelligence service working
Yeah.
on behalf of Trump because they have him and Trump have a beef? Supposedly, I don't know.
But yeah,
We're gonna have hearings about that too. Just never-ending stream of hearings about. It's like, okay, we get it. He's a bad guy. Now, can you actually do anything to him? Well, no. Oh, okay. Well, glad we're doing all.
well,
this.
it's our decision to prosecute him or not. We're just gonna turn a blind eye again. So no, we're not gonna do shit.
Of course they are. Who else do they have?
I mean, because my
Mike
wife.
Pence.
Oh, because my no, my wife had the live broadcast on YouTube on last night, and she fell asleep to it. I was listening to it the entire time because I was doing something else. But God, hearing the same, I mean, it was a lot of different instances of how bad Trump is morally and just his actions throughout history. But God damn. It's like I thought it'd just be repeating the same thing over and over again by like 6 different voices. They had a lot of variety to it.
It's always it's never the same. That's why he's a good entertainer. You're not hitting the same 4 beats, because with Bush, it was always fake wars, started for nebulous reasons. It was like that was always that thing. Bush never did anything new. Trump, it's something new every week. Now, who did more damage? Well, I don't know yet, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see how this economy looks in another couple of years.
When we figure out what supposedly is the greatest economy ever, the highest, Wall Street has ever been, like what secret evil stuff they're actually doing.
What paper tiger is this?
Oh,
house built on
are we
sand.
building? Yeah, they can't do house-backed mortgages, trunnions anymore. So now they're doing it on like medical and student debt.
Bundle all this medical debt for poor people in Alabama. This is a good investment.
Did you guys see
There's money out there if you're just willing to get it. These people owe you.
Yeah, beat them to death, torture their children, whatever you have to do. This is a good investment for you.
Did you guys read that they're changing the FICO score, how that works now?
Yes.
So that's gonna be interesting to see how the
Well, they're actually incorporating people's actual debt. It's like, well, that's a good idea.
But it seems like it'll be very harsh compared to what it used to be, as far as if like you miss one payment, instead of it basically like maybe not dinging you at all, it'll really heavily influence it now.
Well, yeah, people just not buying stuff. Okay, that's gonna solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, they're going to slow down the cash flow and whatever games being worked on the entire American populace.
Well, you want to know where the deep trenches are in our economy is auto loans. That's become the new subprime mortgage.
Yeah.
When people owe like $42,000 on a car that's worth $10,000, yeah, you're underwater.
Well, I have like two different. I have like a credit union and like another one for like my car loan.
Yeah.
And both of those have like changed their name and like designation in like the past 5 years, which that's suspicious.
Well, that means would they do that? Because our credit union changes their name about every 3 years. They're just bundling off all this bad debt to some holding company, and it's like, we're new. We're not holding all this bad paper. Like, who is? Well, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, some other entity. We don't know.
And then the other like fucking weird thing is that from I think both of them, I've gotten like just checks in the mail where it's like cash this check and we'll open up a personal loan account, and they're like $10,000-$20,000 checks.
Yeah, I get that shit sometimes.
It's like, what the fuck is this?
It looks like servitude. That's what it is.
Like, this just shouldn't be just in the mail hanging out where people can just like maybe steal it or something.
I am essentially to the point in my life where the only things I owe money on is I have enough credit card debt, like maybe $500 worth, just to keep the credit cards from being canceled on me, because that actually hurt me at one time because I didn't use the credit cards. It's like, well, I got money, I don't need to use it, and they cancel it, and then that dings you on your credit score. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, they closed this account. It's like, well, yeah, I didn't charge anything on the credit card. Why not? Because it had 29% interest or whatever. So I don't do that. I put like $20 every 2 months on something. But it's like outside of my mortgage and just the bills I have to pay, I don't owe any money. And well, once Gracie starts going to school, that'll change. But that's part of being a parent. But I get really bizarre offers now in the mail. It's like, how we see you're not in debt. We're here to fix that. It's like, I don't want anything. I don't need any. Like, Apple was trying to get me to open one of their credit cards. They said they'd give me $50,000 limit. Like, are you fucking? There's no way I can pay for that. Just charge up $50,000 to Apple, and it's like, we make it easier to pay off. It's like, well, take.
Actually, I hear there's like interesting like good things about the Apple credit card, but it's also just weird.
They sent me a glossy multi-page brochure that was stapled together about why I need to do. Probably because I buy a lot of Apple products.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want.
Well, it's also because they have just so much cash reserves. There's like something like about the card where it's like, it'll work in your favor if you're never in debt, but that's not the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think with my name on it, it's like you do an excellent job with your money. It's like no, I just pay my bills. There's nothing
Now,
extra.
what if you didn't?
Well,
We're here to help you
As a
in
person-
your time of need.
As a person that's $9,000 in credit card debt, personally, I wouldn't say taking your credit card out is a good idea. But-
I don't. I never really did a lot of that. But my thing is, I'm a few steps ahead of my expenses, and I have some money in savings. Like I could pay for a transmission in a car out of savings if I had to. But it's like, other than that, nope, I'm not rich.
Is your bank doing the same thing mine does? Because mine, it's like it incentivizes you not to save anything at all, to stick it all in checking, because your savings interest rate is like 0.002%. But if you stick it all in checking and use it, you have to use the credit card the credit part of it 10 times a month, and use an ATM once a month in order to get 2.5% on your holdings in your checking account every month. And that's the best way to get any money out of your bank account as far as earning extra money on it.
I don't know. I just keep everything in checking, and if I have surplus, I'll buy like a
CD or something.
bond or something. Yeah, well, CDs, the rates like the rate of return's like 0.001% because the interest rates are so low. But yeah, there's different things I'll do. But yeah, we're not talking about large sums of money. Like I said, I'm a few months ahead of my expenses, and that's it. If there's a big downturn, it's like, here's the keys, boys, we're done. But I don't make a lot of money, but I don't spend a lot of money, or I try not to.
You have a savings.
Yeah, I don't have a dedicated savings account. If there's extra money that's not doing anything, it's going into something.
Well, I mean, you have money in case of emergency.
Yeah, like I said, I could cover the transmission in a car. I could replace the AC unit in the house.
That's better than probably 80% of America.
That's fucking
Yeah.
great.
80% of America can't afford a $500 emergency expense.
Let's say I'm somewhere in the range of $5,000 to $8,000 just in money that's not touched.
Yeah.
And I don't consider that good. But then again, I have a retirement account, and I have things that other money goes into that's like not spent either, so I don't cash those in.
I remember it was around 2007, or maybe it was like what was the big economic crisis?
08.
08?
Bottom of the trench, yeah.
So yeah, I was like taking like a macroeconomics course around like 2006 or 2007.
That's probably grim reading.
And well, the thing is, they had like the recent rates, and it's like saving rates. It's like where like it compares people's like basically debt to credit, like how much money they have and how much debt they have. And like the last entry in the book of that year is like, this is the first time it's ever been negative, and we don't know why.
You don't?
Because costs keep going up.
To a few cities in Ohio and Michigan that will explain why this is happening. But yeah, that's
Well, I guess they knew why it was happening. They just
talk amongst yourselves for a second.
it seemed to be an anomalous reading as to like, hey, what's going on here? It's like everything seems to be up, but people are like spending well beyond their means.
Yeah, because everybody's taking out. Because when I was watching something earlier on debt and hobbying, as in like, hey, don't take out a credit card to pay for shit that just sits around your house. That's stupid. Invest in a business or something that'll actually make you more money, because then you'll actually fucking come out ahead in the long run instead of stealing from yourself. But then somebody was like, okay, in England where I'm at, if you don't pay off your credit card in 3 years, they cancel the credit card for you and put you on a payment plan. You can't carry a balance for 3 years. You have to fucking pay it off. And so, like, America, it's like if you don't have like $10,000 in credit card debt, you're not one of us, or whatever. So I wouldn't recommend it, because fucking paying $300 a month for a credit card and not really seeing it go anywhere. But once again, filling it up every time. What?
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrifying.
Well, I put myself in that position, so it's not like I have anybody else to blame besides myself. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I can see why I did it. I wanted all this cool shit, and I still got cool shit, but I don't have as much money. So
I just do things on like and me and my wife like to argue with each other a lot. We like it. It's fun. I mean, it's not hateful. But it's like, what should we do?
That's a lie.
No, it's fun. Other people don't like it when we do it with them. It's like, come on, join the argument game with us. And they're like, you're a bunch of assholes. Like, no, we're having fun. But yeah, everything with us is like 3 or 4 years. I mean, unless one of us has a heart attack or needs a new kidney or something, like my son wrecking his car. I was like, well, what are we gonna do? It's like, well, he's gonna get a job, and I'm gonna go buy him a car, and he's gonna pay me back for it. That's what's gonna happen there. It's like, well, do you want to do that? And I said, as opposed to what? Him riding the bus? I mean, it's like we kind of bat things around, but when it's time to make big expenses, we've got like a year-long plan. It's like, oh, you want this at the end of 2019 where you need to save X amount of money every month. And we both do that because she buys things, I buy things, but we don't buy them like suddenly and then pay them off later. It's always, I don't know. And sometimes when things go good at work or there's profit sharing or contract stuff, like then it's like, okay, I'm getting a snowblower. I'm taking 10% of that money and buying me a snowblower. Like that's a sudden thing. But yeah, as far as credit cards go, there's no way. Because I know I'm not gonna be able to pay them off because I know what my expenses are. And it's like, yeah, that'd be cool to have that right now, but yeah, I don't. I'm not gonna think it's so cool when I'm paying for it 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And I've always sort of been that way. I'm kind of. We don't take vacations. And we don't do things like that, so that cuts a little. Because we know people that take like $10,000 vacations every year.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's a lot of fucking money to go be hot somewhere. I can be hot here, 6 months out of the year in the summer. I don't need to be hot, where do people go? A lot of people go to Hawaii.
A lot of people go to Mexico now too.
In Vietnam, weirdly.
Yeah, why is that? Is it really cheap?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's become very touristy, and there's like lots of stuff you can get there very cheap. Like there's like and I believe it's like advertised on certain podcasts, but there's like a men's suit, like
Oh yeah.
like place there, and like if you got the same suit, and it's like tailor made to you give them the measurements and they make it, and like you get from them, it's like $300-400 to make that same suit in America. It's like $10,000 or some shit like that.
No.
And it's the same fabric and all that.
Same
Yeah.
seamstress too.
Yeah, it's like the same fabric. You just go over there. I know a guy that went to Singapore, goes to Singapore a lot, and he's got like watches, like not Rolexes, because that's like a world price for those. And if your market's too poor, they just don't sell in them. But there's other watches that are like handmade and they're really cool and they're made to those amazing standards. It's like he could have got me a pocket watch. I forget what it was. It was like 32 jewel movement, which that's like $9,000 in Europe or something. And he goes, yeah, I can get you that for $1,000. It's like, God damn, I really love watches and pocket watches. I was really thinking of it. And yeah, he was telling me how he could get a suit made out of that. What's that wool from Australia? Oh, Tasmanian wool suit and stuff. It's like that's like $10,000. That's what like Stephen Colbert wears, those kind of suits. Like when he does the show, it's all these Brooks Brothers beautifully tailored suits. Yeah, those are like $8,000-9,000 suits, and you can go over there and get one for like $1,000 or something. And just the same exact thing, same exact tailoring, materials, everything. You're just not paying the guy anything. Yeah, there's other people. Someone was going to get me a bunch of. They were looking for me a bunch of Machine and Krieger stuff, and I did say, I was like, yeah, send me a message if you find a bunch of stuff. But the problem is shipping it back. It's like, well, it's a wash. Then it's so expensive to get it back. It's like how much to send it by boat or whatever. It's like it's not cheap.
Unless you had another carry-on suitcase or something you could pack full, but cause it's not like it's anything produce-wise or anything illegal. It's just plastic.
Yeah, well, he was bringing. I mean, the guys that go over there are the guys that work for the airlines and fly for free.
Yeah.
So they're just going there, But they have limits to, like, you can't bring a camel full of luggage back with you. They charge you a lot for that. So.
Yeah. No, I just meant like if he had like 1 or 2 boxes, he could probably fit in his carry-on or whatever. Not like, I got like 500 pounds of this shit.
That's what the video game people, when there's a TGS, Tokyo Game Show. It's like their big game show or game, like E3 but in Tokyo.
Yeah.
and reporters used to go over there and bring like 2 suitcases because they go to like all the video game shops there, and they just have all this crazy stuff you just couldn't get in America, or is like super cheap.
Yeah.
And you just go there and fill up a suitcase full of shit and bring it back home with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think like the price for an extra bag on an airline's like $40 or $50, which
Yeah.
is way cheaper than shipping at international standard. So, because shit, even like the companies we deal with.
Well, I mean, they're going over there for the game show, so their company's paying for their
Okay.
their ticket
Well, yeah,
already.
so free. Even
So it's
better.
free shipping for them.
But Jesus, we can't even ship a fucking box overnight that goes to Chicago from Cedar Rapids for less than like $300 or $400 at UPS. So, like, I can't imagine shipping something from fucking China, Japan, or Thailand or something like that.
I mean, some of that
back to the
stuff's
United
gotten
States.
better. Like you can buy stuff. There's like, you can get stuff on Amazon from Japan where like, it'll be like $15. It's like that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes 2 weeks to get to you, but like, I can imagine what it would have cost if it had just been like normal. And then there's like some shops like there's, it's come pretty big called Super Potato. That's like one of the shops I used to go to get video games and stuff, and like their international shipping rates are like agreeable.
Yeah.
But that
I
stuff's
bought
so crazy.
some model stuff from Tamiya Japan off the Japanese website, and they have nice little yen to dollar conversions and shipping and stuff you just couldn't get here. And I used the shit out of it, so I paid for it. But yeah, it took like a month to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Well, I imagine just like anything else wants to save, they just save a big bulk and ship it at the same time
Yeah,
and
yeah.
save on freight.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I found out from a guy from where was he from? Sudan, or what? He was going to all the yard sales around here. It's $5,000 ship it. You know those cube containers that they lift on a crane. It's $5,000 to ship one of those from America to Africa. So what he does is he goes to yard sales and just buys all kinds of shit, mainly clothes, and fills one of the, like, all the families go in, and he gets like a 3-month visa to be here. And so part of, they all raise money in the village. They get one of those shipping containers, and they pick one guy who's like this drogue, because he was driving a Subaru Outback with no hatch on it. Like the hatch was gone off the back of it. So he had the license plate like screwed into the bumper and shit. And I was asking him, like, what's the deal with your car or whatever? He's like, oh, I got it cheap. I got it in Pennsylvania for $1,000, and this is my car for 3 months. And he told me what he was doing. He's filling the shipping container. I was like, does that really pay off at the end of the day? He's like, yeah, we can sell it to the next village and we'll make our money back in a week, like, and then keep all the profit. I was like, this is great. But you're coming to our yard sale and buying like my kids' baby clothes and stuff. Like, this is a grim adventure for these clothes.
Mhm.
It's like you were part of a happy baby, and it's like 5 years later you're in the midst of some ethnic cleansing crisis in Sudan. It's like with Winnie the Pooh shirt with a black ribbon. It's like, what? This is weird. This is dark.
well, I mean, they also say like the clothing industry in Africa is totally like they have enough people to do stuff there and make stuff locally, but it's all drowned in all like the, oh look, it's the Arizona Cardinals Super Bowl shirt from when they went to the Super Bowl and then they never won, or just shit like that, or failed political candidates or other crap that nobody cared about, or misprints that they just drowned with charitable goods and stuff, which is fine and everything because people need clothes, but it's like technically.
Just get a really big sports fan, like drug him, have him wake up in like the alternate universe where all these other teams won the Super Bowl.
It's like, no, in 2016 the Pats are shit. Like,
Twilight Zone themes playing.
The Bills won the Super Bowl 4 times.
they won a playoff game multiple times. How the fuck does this work? No, but no. Yeah, I don't know, because there's like a bunch of different Vice news stories on like if you go to like Central American countries or African countries, that people are actually going over there and setting up like workshops to train people how to like wire electrical grids and do appliance repair and build roads and all this other stuff, just to get the infrastructure up of those countries, and create jobs that are sustainable so people can like sustain themselves, so nobody needs to like send them charitable donations by the container full all the time anymore.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, farming's one thing, but, like, stuff like, hey, we don't have any power here. It's like, well, we'll show you how to make solar panels and set up your own electrical network. That way we don't have to like send you like generators and batteries all the goddamn time with gas. So
Well, and also like having that stuff sent there doesn't mean it actually gets to the people that need it. It's
yeah, I know.
stolen
half
by the
time it
local
gets-
warlord.
It's like, what happened to all those generators we sent you? It's like, well, those are at, Tom the Eye or some guy with a weird name like that. It's like just a house with generators all around it. It's like, well, you have to give him one of your daughters to get one of those. Just crazy shit like that going on. It's like the Middle Ages, but with generators and cell phones. No running water or anything. It's lots of cell phones and computers.
Oh, that's one of the things they like to tout about. Like if we get this global network going, like where we just have like drones that fly the planet and give internet to everybody.
Yeah.
Like that'll help those countries because like pretty much anybody can get a cell phone and now you have internet access anywhere in the world.
Yeah, so they can learn about QAnon and the Great Awakening and put their own spin on it. And next thing you know, there's
Like-
a massive ethnic side and some, like in Peru, they're all slaughtering each other. It's why are they doing this? Oh, they read an internet conspiracy. They decided.
Well, no, that's like those ads pop up during their commercial when they're watching YouTube on a how-to video, and then like
Yeah.
train people in illiterate peasant countries how to fix a nuclear reactor. It's like, yeah, this will pay off for them. They'll teach them about Jesus. No, that always works.
oh, we tried that. Well, not we, but you know.
Still trying that. They still went around Africa in the 90s preaching about the evils of condoms with AIDS. It's like, yeah, that sounds like that's a real humane thing you're doing there. Good job.
But your soul won't have AIDS, only your body.
Yeah. Just think of the next life. As soon as I hear people talking about that, it's like, oh, that's a wrap. We're about done here. It'll be so much better in the next life. It's like, yeah, bring me proof. Just don't even bring me proof it'll be better. Bring me proof of a next life. Until then, fuck off. You know what you're doing. Like, what
Yeah.
do you 11 Rolls Royces? For this life? All right, let's start with Anomaly.
Okay.
We've waited long enough. So now it's time for Anomaly. Now I'm going to play this bump so nobody talk.
Previously on
Anomaly.
An automated factory that's not actually automated by computers, but by occult dealings of putting souls in people's machines. Regroup. We have OSHA. We are in Factoryville, Indiana. We got the Mystic Society and the XBI are also investigating. Sandra Fisk, because she has a drug problem because we're in Indiana, so obviously it's just full of pills.
Factoryville, more like Pillville. Soft food, lots of amphetamine.
The moon.
Something mundane is revealed to be another aspect of the anomaly. How is this discovered, and how does it make the situation more perilous?
These people's souls are not trapped in the machine anymore. They're now like bleeding out into other things.
All the fleshlights in town have now become automated.
All the fleshlights in Factoryville are now their own gods.
So it's 3,500 people. So what would we say, like 7,000 flashlights?
Yeah, you don't want to clean them every time. You gotta be able to switch off.
We got Tim Conway, a guy named Flip.
How about Dana Mulder?
I've over
West
the names.
Virginia
or we could
phone book. but she can only communicate making vulgar sexual references. I've never seen a pancreas so fucked. This pancreas was fucked by a pack of hyenas.
I'm gonna flip my shit. Factoryville, Indiana. We have temperance.
Calming energy resides over the region. What conflicts are halted by this? What urgent matters are neglected?
How about how we have the anomaly of all self-automating taxis, kind of like Uber cars driving around town that are kind of assholes and driving like human beings, not driving like computers.
Why is this car driving up my ass? And why is there nobody in the driving seat?
Unintended automation.
Like the light's not casting straight shadows.
Six of Swords. Do the team have any weapons, and how are they stored? Who can use them? How does the team handle injuries within the team? What do they do when someone outside of the team is hurt by the anomaly?
You know, it was meant to be built for like some like nuclear armament detection, but then they found out it can detect like weird ghost
If
shit.
you feed a pellet of platinum into this thing, it reveals ghosts for 10 seconds. Be sure to tune in next week.
As the XBI gets in on the case. Why would you want to leave? You could die.
So it was Medication Nation by Buck Satan and the 666 Shooters.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if that was his country, man.
Yeah, that's the country.
Oh no, now we've been demonetized.
By Al Jorgensen.
Yeah. Coming for us.
But
I
just
never
in your...
realized how weird some of the stuff we say when we're spitballing sounds out of context. These guys, like, what are they doing? They're talking about the Nine of Swords and not cleaning fleshlights. The ramblings of lunatics.
Well, that's kind of like it to make it sound maybe more interesting than what we actually do.
Yeah, it's like the best part. It's
Yeah.
Oh.
So, let's see here. Did you start the timer yet?
I have started the timer now. I didn't start the timer for the music.
Okay.
That wouldn't be fair.
The last thing I have written here is how the anomaly has stayed hidden. And it was the Hermit card. I'm not sure whose turn we were on.
I think we left off after your turn, and it was gonna be Nathan's again, and we stopped.
Alright.
Um,
But we said, like, the anomaly has stayed...
My last note says interviews with the XBI.
Yeah, that was the last project. And, like, it was a one turn, so it's already done with
Okay.
on this next turn.
All right.
So I guess we'll have... they were conducting interviews, so I guess in the next turn we can have the result of that. But first we'll have to draw a card, and we'll have Nathan go first. But we'll have Andrew draw the card.
I like how we say Nathan go first, and then I have to draw a card anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, just shove it up to the computer screen, make Nathan.
Do you have the description ready, Nathan?
I do.
Okay. We have the Ten of Cups.
10 of Cups. Ah. 10 of Cups. A member of the team is badly injured while researching the anomaly. How serious is the injury? How will the team manage without them? On the flip side, a danger from the anomaly is found, and a costly solution is presented. What is the danger, and what cost must be paid to prevent it?
Seems like a really big, impactful card.
Yeah. Like someone could die or be lost from the team.
Oh, what was the flip side? Just somebody's injured, or
Well,
A
some,
danger
or
from
the
anomaly is found, and a costly solution is presented. What is the danger, and what costs must be paid to prevent it?
okay. So we have the Mystic Society just hanging out at the hotel. We have the
Yeah.
XBI conducting interviews, and then we have Hal Simpson and still in the hospital, so he's not really doing anything. And we have the foreman and Nomar Garcia Paria just at the factory.
Yeah.
and then we have Calvin Hobbes pissing in an officer's mouth
Yeah.
back at the bar. And that's
Yeah, I thought about having the surprise be is that at the end of it that the toilet was actually a police officer and it talks to him.
With
and he gets all his information from his forum by collecting urine in his mouth. It's like, thanks, I learned about the criminal crime ring in town now, thanks.
yeah, this just became naked lunch.
Would
so
the
da-
toilet talk with a lisp?
Of course. If men are putting
We
their
solved
dicks
the crime!
in
Oh, I got a
the
little
middle,
pit.
A lisp is clearly indicated.
Okay.
But anyways, okay, Nathan. Which side do you choose, Nathan? And which team should we have be affected by this?
I think because we're getting a big cast of characters, someone needs to be injured
Okay.
and eliminated from play. Not necessarily killed, but just incapacitated to the point that, they might have a surprise cameo near the end of this saga. And I don't know which team it should be. Let's see. Essentially, we've got the Mystic Society and the XBI. I think we have some throwaway characters in the Mystic Society.
You want to have a new one show up and just immediately get injured?
No, so that's just added characters.
I mean,
Cast.
well, I think but we have the
Ocean Inspector's not doing jack shit, so...
I think it's interesting to keep the Wiccan lady around because she's a drug addict also, and that's just going to be
Yeah.
interesting stuff. So I think we have to injure the equipment guy.
Okay.
He's the only one noticing the light fluctuations.
Well, maybe he's injured by that somehow.
Yes.
The light starts to hurt him or something.
Arc Flash.
Let's see here. Camera guy is Randy Jenkins. So Randy is injured. How is he injured?
Has he told anyone about the lights casting indirect shadows?
Yeah, I mean, sure. He should be he tells that information to
His team leader.
okay, yeah, who's
Yeah, that was.
had him on another.
Better yet, have him tell it to the really high incomprehensible drug addict, and then she'll have to piece it together through.
It's
through
Jeff
memories.
something.
Yeah, Jeff. What was it?
Something with a T. I can't tell.
Thurwell.
Jeff Thurwell.
No.
So Jeff Thurwell. Randy Jenkins is injured. Have we said how yet?
Because he tried to film what the anomaly was doing with the light shadows.
Okay.
The camera blew up next to his head
Okay.
because this thing's not known. And if you could just film it, it would immediately become known.
But he tells Jeff about the shadows.
Yes. The battery.
Was he there when he was recording? He's like, I don't believe you or whatever, and it's like, just look.
No,
and-
he told him about it. He's noticed it. Jeff noticed it, and then Randy was trying to get evidence because that's what the Mystic Society does.
Okay.
And when evidence is attempted, because this thing has some relationship with technology, when they attempt to record, that's when the lithium-ion battery grenade goes off the head that's on the battery or on the camera.
Okay.
And that leads him with a concussion. And
So should we put him in the hospital with Hal Simpson?
yeah, with the arm phasing in and out. Of reality.
All right, and then let's see here. There's the normal stuff is like start a project, team meeting. You can have the anomaly do something. You can endanger somebody or acquire and lose something or add a fact about something.
Let's have the anomaly do something.
All right.
Make its presence known.
Okay. How are we doing that?
Well, we've established there's a lot of weird things going on with technology, and Randy just got hurt by a battery exploding. Let's have the anomaly communicate in some way to all the investigators that it's time to leave. Like, you're not welcome here. I don't know.
They just all get a text.
That could be something that banal, but that creates evidence.
Well, could it be something like, you know, they all have their TVs on in the hotel rooms or wherever they're at, and it plays like clips that all say "get out" or something like that, or just some kind of weird montage that means a message.
Yeah, that might work. Some kind of ring.
Because it's not recordable and it's not repeatable, so it's.
Or if we have a text go out and just like slowly the text just like fades away as if it never existed.
Oh, Snapchat. Okay.
Oh, you want some ring stuff or should you have like those signs that you ever seen those electronic billboard signs that they had like change the ad on it because it's just a basic giant LCD screen and like
Yeah.
as they're like driving to the hotel, like every once in a while it's just like a get out of town thing.
Yeah, that would work.
Or you can have all the cheap beds in the motels vibrate in Morse code, get out.
Who figures that the fuck out?
Flip from the XBI. He knows Morse code.
My balls are twitching. Get out.
Remember when in that episode of the X-Files where the guy would be watching any LCD display and it would be saying normal stuff to him and then he'd look back and it'd be like, kill them. They're watching it. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had the guy from the Newhart. Remember, this is Daryl. This is
Yeah.
my other brother Daryl, and yeah.
That was a classic episode.
So fourth dimensional text that appears in the world.
Yeah, we could do that. And does it just directly say "get out" or is it going to?
Yeah, they'll notice a get out and then kind of look away and then they don't notice anything and then it says like again, but then like it leaves their name, like it tells them to get out individually.
Oh, okay.
So that way it's just not some like, what kind of weird advertisement is this? Like they know they're being told to get out.
Personalized threats from the other realm.
So like, everybody OSHA and everybody gets the same thing, or just the XBI and the Mystic Society?
All the outsiders do. Well, probably not the guy with his arm hacked off. 'Cause he's probably actually a part of this at some level now.
He's the one sending the ghost text with his other hand.
Yeah, we just see his arm and a text. No, we'll just.
I can't afford a second plan. Go. Like,
God damn it! Where did he get that phone? His arm's not even a part of me anymore. Okay, so I guess we'll. Whose turn is it? I think it's Andrew's turn. Yeah. Make it Andrew's turn. Pick a card.
I'll just take the deck for me because it's easier than trying to like pull one out while you're gripping it.
We have the Three of Staves.
That's all the way down.
Making you work for it.
We haven't had a pentacle yet.
Oops.
How many cards are in a tarot deck?
Like 72 or something.
Oh, okay.
It's basically like a regular card deck with like some extra shit thrown on top of it.
Yeah, because 52 is a regular card deck and plus 20.
Yeah, but like they have like things that are like equivalent to like this is an ace, king, queen, jack, and then 1 through 10.
This is the instruction card. Like,
Again?
Three of Staves.
Stabs. I don't know if I have. Some.
Or wands, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, wands. I was gonna say.
I forgot. It's wands, pentacles, swords, and cups.
Okay, now I've got it. Three of Wands. That's it, right?
Yes.
Yep.
A member of the team suggests safety precautions. What setbacks will be caused by playing it safe? On the flip side, a member of the team suggests safety precautions. what goes wrong because they aren't followed?
Well, I'm gonna say the leader of the Missile Society is it Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's gonna suggest that they don't use electronic surveillance equipment now because of what happened with the camcorder and Randy. That way, everybody, the team stays safe. I would say a drawback of this is that obviously that they, because was it a safety thing that somebody else is gonna get hurt, or just a drawback as in like the investigation doesn't continue?
Well, there's like two sides. So one's a drawback and the other one's like affecting, or what?
Well, essentially, this is two of the same side. The first side is a member of the team suggests safety precautions. What setbacks will be caused by playing it safe? And the alternate is a member of the team suggests safety precautions. What goes wrong because those precautions aren't followed?
Okay. Well, if they stop using digital equipment, then like they basically don't have surveillance anymore. So now it's all intuition.
Yeah.
So that's the setback.
And there's no proof.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's probably the more solid part. That's why I was just trying to distinguish if somebody had to be hurt and or something go wrong and hurt or setback. So yeah.
Like the normal cards, there's usually two sides, but then like the big cards, there's just one thing. So usually there's like kind of like, I don't know, some of them aren't necessarily this is the good one, this is the bad one. Sometimes they're kind of more nebulous, like that one, but yeah. Well, I guess we should have the XBI has finished their interviews. Should we have them have discovered something?
Well,
Who did they interview?
Just the whole town, anybody they could
yeah,
talk
just
to.
anybody that would talk to him covertly. Let's say they discovered that people have known for a while that the machines run themselves, but nobody talks about it because it just makes their lives easier. And they've also, discovered that the town seems to have a history of just basically unexplained events, especially around electronics or anything with electricity involved, like people getting injured, mysterious deaths, just weird happenings that don't explain themselves.
Okay.
And now we have to do something between, investigate or, other stuff, right?
But we can have you can have do some anomaly. You can have a team meeting. You can start a project, which we don't have any projects right now. So right now, no team is necessarily doing anything. So if you want to have a team do something,
I got to start a project
all right.
with Hal Simpson. His project is going to be breaking out of the hospital because he feels like OSHA has unfinished business with the factory. That it can't be this ghost malarkey everybody's starting to talk about. That it has to be something. They must have got new machines in from China that aren't regulated or something. The circuit boards are cutting people's arms off.
Would you like a four-sided,
Three-sided die, yeah.
three-sided, or is this four-sided?
Oh. Well, it has 1, 2, 3 on everything, every side, right?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, that's fine then. Doesn't
Okay.
matter.
4 turns.
Every time I start a project, it takes like the whole goddamn episode. Apparently, breaking out of a hospital with one arm is very complicated.
Which arm is missing?
The left arm, I believe I had to cut off, if I remember right.
No, I think you cut off the right arm because he was right-handed, and you want it to be more difficult.
Maybe.
I believe I have it written down here. Which arm is actually cut?
Yeah,
off.
I didn't write it down because I guess I never thought it would come up again.
I want to say it was the left arm, but we can get back to it when it.
Yeah, that's
If it'll
having
be
me a
permanent.
lefty now. Yeah, that makes more sense because what would you reach inside a machine for with your dominant hand or your non-dominant hand? Oh yeah, your dominant hand. So yeah, he's trying to break out of a hospital with his non-dominant hand, and he's trying to dress himself and all that shit. at the
Maybe
same
it takes a
time.
while because does he want to take his arm with him? Is that why it takes so
No,
long?
he's just trying to get out of the
Okay, he's
hospital.
just trying to get out. Okay.
He's kind of giving up on the arm because it just phases in and out, so he knows it's not anything he can control. So
All right. So now it's my turn. The Knight of Swords.
Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords. Somebody seizes an opportunity and takes a piece of power in the community. I'm sorry, and takes a place of power in the community. How does the team think the anomaly was involved, and why does it worry them? Someone seizes an opportunity, accomplishing something incredible, despite the risks. What did they accomplish, and who was endangered to do it? Is that clear on that?
Did that have two sides or just one?
Just two sides.
Okay.
It's a swords card.
Um,
So basically, the first one is someone seizes a place of power that they didn't have, and how was the team? How did the anomaly help them, or was the anomaly involved in it? And then the alternate side is someone has a great accomplishment, and how did they accomplish it? How did they accomplish it, and who was endangered by the accomplishment?
huh. I'm trying to like what seats of power do we have? You know, like local government or local police or something, or power at the factory.
Probably the factory. Sounds like everything's kind of thrall to the factory.
No amount of Garcia Parra takes power. Like, no.
Was he like become like the president of the factory or something?
Shop chairman of the local union.
All right.
Oh, are you going with that?
Sure, I don't have anything. I don't like
Well,
I
because
said
we don't really have any established characters otherwise in the factory vying for power besides the foreman.
because there's like nobody. There's nobody in the XBI or the Mystic Society that like have a power. That have like a seat of power in their grasp.
Yeah.
There's really only somebody. There's really only somebody at the factory, or we could have like local government. Something with that, because we haven't involved like the local police. We don't know if they're shady or not, but they probably would have to be, right?
Maybe with everybody not trusting electronic devices anymore, the Amish can seize power in the community.
Or do we make like Nomar Garcia Parry's like actually like the town sheriff as well, or something like that?
Yeah, we could do that.
But like that seems like a waste of his time. Like, wouldn't the factory like pay him well enough to be in the shadows?
So
yeah,
it'd be-
but if they wanted him to have municipal control too, he might wear two hats.
Okay.
He could have minions.
Okay, so Nomar is revealed to be the town sheriff.
with his deputies Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Okay.
Let's switch it up so we don't get sued.
Well-
Matt Affleck and Ben Damon.
Well, at some point we're gonna have the. I remember I heard this podcast like within like the first 5 turns they had to kill off like 2 people.
Yeah.
So we're definitely gonna kill off Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
So those are the deputies.
Yes.
Minions. Okay. Are those pseudonyms?
That's the real name. No relation to the actual actors.
All the time they get pissed when everybody's like, "It's Matt Damon." No, it's not fucking Matt Damon.
And I guess I should start a product. We need the XBI to do something. So, so we haven't actually had. Was it Scully Mulder? She didn't. Has she ever performed an autopsy yet? I know we like talked about one, but did she actually perform an autopsy on the guy yet?
No, I don't think she has.
Okay, we'll have her. I don't know, either perform the autopsy or should just be like getting the notes from the local pathologist and like going through something, or we can have them like dig up the body to look at it again.
Well, let's look up the pathologist's notes and find anomalies.
All right. So this is we'll do a regular dice project. 1 turn.
I'm gonna roll my own damn dice.
All right. So Scully looks up pathology notes, and so she's like going through like all the towns like that are related. It's like for an accident. Would you perform an autopsy on an accident?
Yes,
Okay.
especially industrial accidents, because about 50% of those are actually homicides in real life, in the real world.
And by homicides, do you mean the person helped create it, or that somebody actually?
Somebody put someone in danger and
Oh,
killed them.
okay.
Like the guy didn't fall into the pit of chromium zinc. He slipped into it.
All right, Nathan, is your turn.
All right.
So that's the. So Scully finishes up her thing, and Hal is 2 turns away from.
He just got his pants on. He's almost.
Oh shit! What's the? Oh, 7 of Cups.
7 of Cups. What relationships within the team create problematic conflicts? Are any members of the team in romantic relationships? We've already established that our hedge. Well, we're doing XBI stuff now.
Well, we can do anyone.
Yeah, you can do
I
it.
mean, if you want Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to start hooking up, you can.
So Ben Affleck can sing, I'm fucking Matt Damon. He's fucking Matt Damon.
That would be a very odd road. Follow the homosexual escapade of law enforcement officers.
With a light, cheery song. He's fucking Matt Damon. Sorry. Yeah.
Trying to think who would have problematic relate. Well, you know, the one lady, the hedge witch with the drug problem. I don't know if she would be in a romantic relationship with.
Sucking Nomar Gosh the power of his cock for some pills.
Or maybe she was a.
I don't
she
know if
was-
that's romantic.
I mean,
But-
between her and the pills.
Well,
not her
I mean,
and
she
drugs.
could.
Like,
She could have been there. Like maybe she's like inured with, or not inured, but infatuated by Jeff because he's all weird and mystical and everything, and has all this weird knowledge. Or maybe she could have some affection for
Randy, the injured camera guy.
Yeah, and like she's at his bedside while he's in a coma.
And now she's going through worse depression than more drug withdrawal now.
What's her name? Sarah?
Sandra
Sandra.
Fisk.
Sandra is at Jeff's bedside.
Jeff's bedside.
Randy.
Oh.
Randy's. Yeah, sorry.
I was like, Jeff got hurt. Like,
And this gives the viewer the first time like, oh, they must be in a relationship.
They're in a relationship, all right. She's waiting for the painkillers.
So at the end of this, that's when he has the surprise. He wakes up like, oh god, I'm in so much pain. You bitch.
Yeah, he wakes up and she's in the chair next to the hospital bed, but instead the IV's running into her arm. And her eyes are rolled back into her head. I think it should be also with her that the more opioids she takes, the better and more clearer her powers become. Not her powers of reasoning,
her
whatever her
mystical
powers
yeah.
of being a witch are, which could lead to other things. So, more dope, more power.
Okay, and so you can do like, you know, team meeting, starter projects, things like that. You can we have this. You can if you want to do the results of Scully's pathology reports, so you can do that, or we can do something with an anomaly.
Let's talk about the results of pathology results.
Okay.
About that.
Do you think she finds any commonality?
Well, I know earlier in the episode you mentioned like, oh, what is it? Hold on one second. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, I thought that was the timer going off. Yeah, do we want to have like some sort of commonality between the industrial accidents? Like, there's one thing in common. There's like some like toxic report. There's something that's common between all of them.
Okay, so the first guy was basically pulverized and kind of just like in a mess of like just limbs and other stuff, just basically in a pile, right?
Yeah, something
From
like
the
that.
machine.
I think he actually, like we say, he got like this drill like impaled him somehow, but
Oh, okay, sorry.
in
So
the
he's-
audio version, I made a giant explosion because that would sound more entertaining.
Okay, so he's mostly intact. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to ask more. Since it's all electrical based and it's all other stuff, can you have like something where like the insides are charred, like they got struck by lightning, but they're all like
Okay, so,
otherwise
like,
physically appear
There's
fine on the
organs
surface?
that like have some sort of electrical damage that aren't apparent from the outside. Okay.
Kind of like the lightning episode for X-Files with Giovanni Ribisi,
Okay. Yeah.
where it's kind of like he was struck by lightning, but it's weird because you just stand in the middle of a field. There was no storm, kind of
So
thing.
it's internal lightning strike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
internal electrical damage.
And what were you gonna say, Nathan?
I lost track of my thought.
You said you were talking about something we spoke about earlier.
Oh, that there was like some kind of crystal
Yeah,
or something. Did you want to include any of that in the autopsy?
yeah.
We're gonna save that.
Yeah, this is the only die for the crystal is like that's where the souls are encased or whatever. That doesn't really like mean anything, but
Oh, okay.
but we could have something like crystal dust just emanates from it, like these crystals slowly deteriorate, and that's why the why stuff is escaping into the outside the factories because the crystals are deteriorating because every time it tries to contain the soul, some part of the crystal like is evaporates or whatever. It just does it at an almost imperceptible rate. And so crystal is in his bloodstream.
That'll work.
Crystal meth.
Okay.
It's the Andromeda Spring.
Wait, whose turn? We just do Nathan's turn?
Yeah.
It was Nathan.
Okay, so,
Autopsy results.
okay, and then do we not? Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do that. So now it is Andrew's turn.
Oh, did he want to start an investigation or change anything?
Oh no, we just we did the autopsy results.
Okay. Al Simpson's almost free.
Yeah, he's one turn away. The 5 of Swords.
5 of Swords. What principles do all the members of the team share? What do members of the team do together to pass time?
Oh, Jesus
It
Christ.
just opens the door into
Debauchery.
Yeah.
It's,
Well,
it's just a Flip and Scully exchanging like vulgar sex stories that we don't know whether they're true or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Okay, so,
It is your turn. You don't have to
no,
let me.
no, it's fine. I was actually thinking something similar where they all have like some kind of weird relationship. Like all the XBI have like a weird way they talk to each other and communicate. It's seen as just weird or really non-professional to the outside world if somebody were to listen to them. But it's really them like discussing and like trying to figure out a problem in a weird way. What was the other part of it? So they're also like a weird relationship part, right? Or something like that.
How do they pass the time? Or let's see, what was the other one? What principles do the team members of the team share?
Okay, so the principles can just be their communication, so they all communicate in that same way. But they pass the time by digesting and tearing apart conspiracy theories of the oddest magnitude. Just weird stuff like an alien killed JFK and then fucked Jackie Kennedy or something. It's just something like weird. Like
So we have the Mystic Society do that as well. That's something to be shared across teams.
no, just the XBI can handle
Okay.
it. I think the Mystery Society has enough stuff going on. The XBI needs some more depth. Besides just Scully, or not Scully, god damn it, Dana Mulder, just basically being like, yeah,
That's-
gangbang, cock horse, race.
That's
Race fucking-
Scully Mulder.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
I keep screwing it up because it's always, no, it's Dana Mulder.
That's Dana
Because
Mulder.
it's Dana
Okay.
Scully in the show.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
So it's just, yeah. But I keep calling her Dana Scully because obviously that was the
That was
name
that.
of the character for a long goddamn time.
So we have the XBI and their communication and weird X-rated innuendo.
Should we? Well, we'll have them do one more thing. Should we have? Should you start a project? Should we have like the Mystic Society like bring in another team member to replace Randy?
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
They could organically find somebody in town that's like a medium or something too, to kind of offset how what's her name has been kind of taking more pills and shit.
Sandra.
Yeah.
All right. What dice would you like to roll for that?
Oh, here. Oh. God damn it. A 3. Slightly better. Does that mean that Hal's out of his pants now? Or not out of his pants, into his pants?
Yeah, my turn. Hal is leaving the hospital, or if we give him that, we'll see what card I draw.
Or if he just drops dead as soon as he exits the hospital. Who knows?
Mystic returns. Hal gets out. All right. That has been Anomaly.
All right. There it is, folks. I know your guys are impatient for more, but we'll have more in 2 weeks.
I really think like one episode we should just do Anomaly the whole time. Because, I mean, I really like it so far. I think it's been really entertaining and something to get you thinking. And
Yeah, I like it. Just the only thing, like when it comes to a podcast setting,
it's, I
like
know.
when we like go to roll, do notes, and think, there's just a lot of dead silence.
Yeah, I know.
Which I don't know. It's like antithesis to podcast where it's like talk or you die. But like I don't know. But that's why I tried to limit it to like 30 minutes an episode.
No, it's
Unless we just do a special side episode when we all have time off, we can do that too. But
Yeah.
because I'm not sure, like it says in the rule books, like it's like 2 to 4 hours if you want it to be. You can make it. I mean, we could end the game next week if we wanted to. It's like nothing was solved and everybody left town. Or we could go through this whole deck of cards, whatever you want to do. We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, we probably got like.
We're enjoying it because believe me, we're the only ones listening.
Oh, I'm enjoying it just because I actually find the story somewhat naturally flowing somehow. Like it seems totally fine. Like there's nothing about it that seems weird at all, weird at all to me, which is either deeply
Besides
concerning
alive
or
fleshlights, although I put that in the
audio clip, but that's not what's actually happening.
Yeah, I think we like disregarded that, but in the audio clip that sounds fascinating.
Well, I'm just saying, between all the weird electrical stuff around town with the self-driving cars, the machinery runs itself, the weird light patterns, and now electronics kind of like harming people or just, acting erratically enough to harm people. But also just multiple people between more do-it-yourselfers or government people coming in to investigate, and weird stuff or bad stuff happening to them. And then just people normally being themselves. Like, I think there's plenty of people that, like, just... Like me, I use fucking swear words and stupid shit all the time. Like, I don't normally talk normal all the time. I could be like, gangbang on a stick, Batman. Let's get all this fucking shit out of my asshole. Let's do this.
I'll put that in the next previously on.
But no, it's just...
What I like about it is like, it's like this writer's room. We're like writing the story, but then every once in a while we have to conform to these cards that get pulled randomly. It tells us how we have to write the story. So it's kind of like pulling us back together. It's like, oh shit, now we have to do this. We can't just do anything we want.
I think...
Yeah,
I mean,
we're not
even,
just spitballing all the time.
but
Yeah.
even like the card draws have actually worked pretty well, like, narratively. I think it's
Yeah.
built well. It's not like... Oh, like
Oh
everybody...
boy, I can't wait to kill Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
They're having unprotected sex in the...
death.
They're having unprotected sex in the back of their patrol car. It exploded.
Their deaths are mourned by Nomar Garcia Parra.
He's like, those two are the best fucking cops I've ever worked with. He's like, whoa, wait, I mean, not fucking, I mean, best cops, best.
Wait, should we start talking about the book or the movie?
Talk about the book because I
Okay.
just finished that today.
Okay. Me too.
We
That's
read
right.
we read a biography today.
Well, it's like, it's not necessarily an autobiography, but like, well, he did write some stuff. It's written by another guy, but it's like sort of dictated, half written by Al Jorgensen.
Yeah. A lot of like free reign thought going on. But
And then
it's
organized by chapters,
Yeah.
by album release, sort of.
by album release, and then there's the weird rebuttal chapters.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I sort of remember this way, but not quite. But anyway, the title of the book is Ministry: The Lost Gospels According to Al Jorgensen. Now, that's a very important title. Because there's elements and stories in this book where it's like, what the fuck? And I've read a lot of rock and roll bios, and yeah, the drugs, the sex, the debauchery, that's nothing new. Some of the pathology behind some of this is remarkable.
Well, like it's so revealing in a way that you just want to believe everything he says,
Yeah.
even though it's like, Or you could be like, Jesus Christ, what's he hiding? Like, what's he not telling us? Because he's willing to tell us just pretty much everything.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have a lot of shame or guilt about anything.
Well, he also sees himself as a good person, although every time he kind of like, yeah, I want to do that, and then like next chapter he totally does that. Like he's at one point he's talking about like how like when he was an up and coming artist, like people would fuck with him just because he was a new artist, and he said, I don't do that, and literally every new artist that comes along is like, we put them through their paces and like fuck with them. It's like, oh well, apparently you didn't do that.
Maybe not to the degree, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like I don't know how the fuck he even survived long enough to have a musical career from some of the shit he was doing.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
Well, he just never stopped doing drugs, so he never like his immunity didn't like died down and he had to jump back into drugs and suddenly overdose because his intolerance was different or his tolerance was different. But,
yeah. I'm trying to think of what, if anything, stands out to me in this book.
Well, I think the weirdest thing it starts out is like I didn't realize he was like a Cuban immigrant.
I
Yeah,
didn't
that
know
was
either.
that was weird.
Cause like here's the thing, I just thought he was like a regular white dude from like Ohio or some shit or maybe Chicago, but like he's born in Cuba. They hint that like maybe his family has like Spanish heritage.
Yeah.
But also he always refers to himself as white. He doesn't identify as like Hispanic, but he'll refer to his like in context his mom and his grandmother as like hot Latina pieces of ass.
Yeah. Talk about your mom. Well, he said he never really forgave his mom though. Like his his stepdad, who was actually interviewed in the book, like he's cool with him because he took his name, Jorgensen, where that name comes from. But like his mom, he's like, yeah, I never really forgave her. You know, that was like, oh, okay, and we never.
But she also had him when she was 16, so.
Yeah.
Because when you see pictures in the book of her and him, like she looks like she's like 20 years old, and he looks like he's 30 because he's strung out on drugs.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But again, I think this, I don't know how much of this is misremembered or interpreted.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, fuck it. This story sounds cool. Not that it's lying, but it's like when you do that many hardcore drugs for that long, it's like, yeah, all the pieces just don't fit back together.
Yeah, that's what every once in a while he'll just talk about Grays abducting his unborn child.
Yeah, aliens have been a part of his life forever. It's just kind of a part of him. He gets super political.
Yeah.
Like super, like he basically says, like, I'm a socialist. Like, I don't like, because one of the reasons, like, okay, well, I'll just talk about like my relationship with this music, and then we'll expect, because I think this is where you first heard this was stuff I was listening to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was.
Well, I probably introduced the Nine Inch Nails first, and then like you had like Filth Pig and Psalm 69. I listened to that stuff. Although I don't really like Filth Pig, but Psalm 69 is awesome.
Brick
like,
Windows is a good song. That's about it.
What's that?
I think the Brick Windows was the song off of Filth Pig I like.
The only one I like on Filth Pig is Fall, or The Fall. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
But I haven't really like gone back to listen to it. I kind of like Spotify, listen to snippets, and like, is there something here? Is there something here? And that's not like a great way to listen to an album, but
Yeah.
also every album he talks about, you're like, oh man, this is my favorite song in Ministry. He's like, I fucking hate that song. We wrote it in 2 minutes.
That was filler.
Yeah, like every day is Halloween is like, I fucking hate that song. I get caught on for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, and I was kind of feeling sad in a moment for like liking that song, and then you get through like most of the he hates every song that everybody likes, so whatever.
Yeah, it's him.
It's you can like the song if you want. It's fine.
'Cause he's the one who said, I hate the people that like my music.
Yeah.
That continuously came up throughout the book. It's like, I really hate the people that like my music. I'm a really nice guy one-on-one, but if I'm in a room full of people, it gets fucking wild. Like, I'm not your friend anymore if I'm in a room full of people.
Well, it seems like his whole drug career was built around handling social anxiety disorder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't do well with people anywhere in any setting, it seems like. So
Because also the interesting about this book does is it relays how prolific he was.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's working on something the whole time.
Yeah,
He might not be working on a Ministry album. He's working on like a side album with the Revolting Cocks, or doing something with 1,000 Homo DJs,
Or doing a jingle for Huffy Bicycles. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he did a Christmas album that was like 2 years ago.
he's got a hell of a work ethic, but
Well, also,
told him that, and then he's like, "Yeah, but that was just to fund my drug habit." It's like, well, all right.
well, it's also like you see like, musicians like fall from grace, like, like something happens and like suddenly like they're all poor. And it's like, oh, of course that all went to drugs, but also like the record company didn't pay them, and like you get some of that here where like some people are totally built up by the management studio, and like if that isn't there anymore, then they don't have any talent anymore. Like they're only as good as what the management gives them.
Yeah.
And he's a producer. Like he produces music, and the thing is like he's a good producer. He stole a bunch of stuff from, what's that famous producer like in England that he stole like everything from?
Yeah, the guy from Arista or whatever, their first guy, Clive something or no. Who's the
No,
guy?
this is the guy in his second record label when they sent him over to London, where he learned because he paid him.
It's a really famous record producer.
Yeah, and I forget the name, but it was the guy from, that he worked on the.
It's like Albert something or something like that. Yeah. And and like apparently he like looked at all the levels and settings the guy had and like wrote them all down on a piece of toilet paper, and he basically like, stole all the guy's tricks for himself. And so yeah, he's a good like producer, so that's why he's
a degree from the University of Chicago.
I don't think he ever finished it, but he worked
hang out there for years.
Well, he transferred from like Colorado to like some Chicago arts school.
Yeah, Institute of Fine
I thought it
Arts
was University of Chicago. Okay.
No, Institute of Fine Arts Chicago.
And they were building a music department at the time, so they like basically let him build it, and that's where he got to just basically get equipment for free and fuck around with it, and he taught himself like everything.
Yeah.
And he taught other people about it, even though he didn't really know anything about it.
Because that's when he's doing like weird like audible art pieces for his girlfriend's like art exhibits.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's where, and he's doing a lot of synthesizer stuff. Because like when he starts out, a lot of his stuff is just kind of synthy pop music.
Yeah.
Like who would you compare it to?
Joy Division.
Yeah. Joy Division.
A lot of Joy Division. A lot of Joy Division with Pet Shop Boys thrown in. Kind of weird. It's sort of cool, but it's only cool because of what it became, not what it is. It's like, this is where Ministry started. Isn't that weird? Like, and then it became this. It's like,
he's singing with a fake British accent.
yeah, but not doing a bad job, but probably not something if it was
it's more of an imitation at the time.
Yeah.
Because that's what the record company wanted, and he didn't know how to like fight a record company because he's just some stupid kid looking for an opportunity, and his opportunity is to imitate people.
Go with what sells. We'll see. Like my introduction to Ministry was, I think in like 1987, someone had Twitch, because I used to hang around with a lot of guys that were into skateboards.
Yeah.
And I of course didn't do it because I would break the skateboard, but I was the fat guy that like was responsible for bringing the boombox while the other guys skated, and I just sat there and watched. And they had a lot of this music, and I got introduced to like Twitch, which was like their first foray into what it became. And this was in like 1987, 88. But then in 89, I got a copy of The Land of Rape and Honey, like the cassette. And I used to play that like and walk around, and I had the boombox taped to my bike, and it's like, what shocking music can I play to piss the police and or everyone? Because I used to do dorky shit like that, and and I that was one of the first albums I had outside of my weird like Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull prog rock stuff, which I was always into concurrently. Where it's like the Land of Rape and Honey, I listened to front to back. I liked the whole album, played all the songs. Because a lot of it was just kind of noise, and it was cool, and it was a little unfocused. But I remember that was one of the first albums outside of kind of like my home base of Jethro Tull and Pink Floyd. That's like, I just listened to this whole album. And then Mine Is a Terrible Thing to Taste came out. I think I started driving around that time, and I liked that whole album. So this was my first kind of, because there was a lot of Front 242 and a lot of other strange music. And remember, when I was growing up, like, you had to drive to Fort Wayne to get that music.
Yeah.
Like, because the churches in town would burn down any place that sold shit like that locally. So I had to go to Fort Wayne to get it. So on the way back from Fort Wayne, you just pop in the cassette and just listen to the whole album. Because I don't think my tape player had rewind. But yeah, I mean, that was, kind of technical limitations of that time. But it's like, oh yeah, I really like this. Like, I like their whole fucking albums. I like all their songs they do. And there wasn't the internet or anything back then to find out about these guys. So you just go through the cover art and it's like, oh, Alien Jorgensen, Clive Barker or whoever. It's like, oh, okay, these guys are, you didn't know anything about him. You just made up stories about what's this guy like. Oh, he's a complete fucking psycho. And then you read this book and it's like, hey, he's a complete fucking psycho. I wasn't lied to in my youth. And then, there was a lot of music like that around at that time. But these stand out as probably, it's weird because I listen to Ministry today and it's like, oh, I would never seek this out today, but because I remember it, it's cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, this is kind of weird, amazing music. And then there was really kind of a 3-album arc there. There was, in my mind, there was Land of Rape and Honey, Mine's a Terrible Thing to Taste, and Psalm 69, where it was like really cool ministry.
Yeah.
Each one was different. Each one kind of had their own thing, their own message. But then after that, it's sort of like, yeah, it's George Bush and let's get all political, and that's fine. Just not what I'm seeking anymore.
I mean, technically, Psalm 69 was also anti-Bush.
It was anti-Bush senior. Him then, because Clinton pounded him in the election for his first term.
And in a broom closet later on.
Probably.
Because that was the NWO. That whole song was just like quotes from Bush, right?
Yeah, it's just good and evil, right and wrong. Like,
we're gonna build a new world order.
Yeah, it's a lot of weird 2-track recording and cuts, like abrupt cuts. It's like, oh, this is cool. But yeah, for me, that's like the Ministry trilogy. Everything before or after that's kind of vaguely interesting to me, but
I've kind of rediscovered the Dark Side of the Spoon. I was like, no, it's a really good album. I like that.
I probably should revisit that. I know I haven't.
I only heard of Dark Side of the Spoons like in the Napster days when you just started downloading shit. Like, what's the you go into like the chat room and like, what's a similar artist? So you didn't have Spotify, so you had to just like ask people things, and then I'd end up with like just weird random tracks from all these Ministry albums, and so like I'm like it was like there's like 6 songs off of Dark Side of the Spoon, which I didn't know they're on there. I was like, I like all those songs. I thought it was like early stuff because it sounds more like a cross between later Ministry and like really early Ministry, where it's like electronic pop stuff. But
yeah,
I haven't listened to anything like was that Enamatisa or something like that. I haven't heard that one. And then like there's other ones later on the album like what, El Paso Hell or something like that. And,
yeah,
like all those later ones, I want to like From Beer to Eternity. I like those sound interesting. I want to get to those, but I haven't yet. So
we get the album tracks up.
And then like the most latest one, Americant, with like a KKK in it.
Yeah, I remember that one.
But that's not talked about in the book because that was written. This book it
came out a couple years ago.
It looked like the book kind of like finished in 2013, but then there's like kind of an epilogue that picks up in like 2015.
Yeah.
Because like, kind of like at the end chapter, it's like Al's like kind of in a happy place, but he's still drinking and he's still married. And then like in the epilogue, it's like, oh, he got divorced again. That seems sad. And he moved out of that place and they closed down 13th Planet Studios. And now he lives in LA, but he's doing a bunch of work with a bunch of people.
Oh, I guess I didn't get to that part because I didn't finish the book entirely. But
Oh, okay.
he got divorced from what's her name?
Angie.
Yeah. And and he didn't fuck the violin player that wasn't wearing because he didn't want to ruin his marriage.
I think he did that with his addictions and just basically being a dick all the time. It sounded like, so I don't know.
But
yeah, I don't know. He just seemed to have a.
and they always in the book they make the lead guy from Butthole Surfers seem like more crazy than Al Jorgensen. So
Yeah.
it's fun. I like the both sides of it where they're talking about like I can't remember the guy. It's like Angie or something or Gibby or something like that. I can't remember, like I'm just gonna call him Gibby. It's something weird like that. And so Gibby steals his crack and smokes it, and then Al like asks him about it and is like, I don't know, I hope you look for it. And like they're both looking for crack that he knows is not there. And then they get to Gibby's chapter and like, hey man, if an addict's helping you look for crack, you both know the other guy smoked it.
Yeah. Crack code.
It's like, yeah, Al stole my crack too.
Yeah, we're gonna pretend that it's easier than beating the shit out of each other.
And I thought there would be more involvement with Nine Inch Nails, but there was kind of just like the one chapter where like Trent didn't have Nine Inch Nails yet, and like Al Jorgensen had ruined his keyboard by vomiting on it, so he borrowed Trent Reznor's 4-track keyboard.
Yeah.
And then he ends up being like a roadie for them. At some point, like they were on the same tours together, but they kind of diverged at some point. But they were just kind of acquaintances afterwards.
Yeah.
I also like this book has just a weird what a weird drug-addled Forrest Gump kind of book this is, where he just like meets really famous people and like, oh, we're friends now.
Yeah, he seems to fall into a lot of things.
Oh, this guy's my friend. Now he's an Alaskan senator. Oh, Steven Spielberg's a friend of mine. Oh, I really like hockey, and I'm son with the owner of the Blackhawks. And he bails me out
while I was
constantly.
drunk, and now I'm friends with his bandmates.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay.
My favorite was when he was talking about playing. One of my favorite, like just a line that stuck out to me was, remember when he was playing for Divine when John Waters got him a job as the guitarist when Divine would be on stage.
Yeah.
Whatever transsexual art that was, and all the guys it was just all homosexuals in the theater.
Because like, was it the guys that own Wax Tracks or
they
were a couple? Was Jim and Andy or Jim and Dandy or something like that? Something like that.
Yeah, Jim and Dandy.
But yeah, and he was like, yeah, I never got into the whole gay thing. He goes, I sucked a guy's dick once, and it was like one of the people from Cheap Trick. We were drunk. And he goes, you know what? And that led to a lifelong friendship. I never sucked his dick again. But it's like, it happened, and it's like, now we're good friends. I was like, that's a hell of a way to make a friend. I'm not gay, but I sucked his dick, and now we get along.
Well, no, like that guy, the guy's dick he sucked was friends in high school with the guitarist from Cheap Trick.
Okay, well, I must have blended that.
And he also said, I don't know if he came or not. Which
Yeah.
It's like, okay. It's
Those
like,
are weird nights.
Well, I mean, that's the first dick sucking he did in the book.
Yeah, there was
Oh.
others.
there was
He
other
sucked his own
Okay.
dick at the
Oh yeah, that's right.
at the Hustler like party.
Wasn't that the part of the book where he was saying, like, I was Marilyn Manson before Marilyn Manson was cool? Or there was some kind of, like, I was doing crazier shit than him.
Yeah.
He fucked me, and, I was the first guy to suck his own dick. I didn't know the page, and it's like, wow.
He's also said like it helps when you're like on so many painkillers, you can't feel back muscles being torn apart.
Yeah, you can feel back spasms and spinal separation.
There's also a weird thing where like each fan base of White Zombie and Ministry were claiming that Rob Zombie and Al Jorgensen stole each other's look from each other.
Yeah. Which I never got because they look different.
Well, it's mostly like cowboy hat and dreadlocks.
Yeah, but Al Jorgensen always had more of a Tex-Mex vibe, where Rob Zombie, it looked like voodoo.
1950s voodoo.
yeah, just like just schlock film voodoo. I enjoyed this book. I met my expectations. I didn't know much about Al Jorgensen. When I read the book, I was like, yeah.
I need to know less about Al Jorgensen now.
I don't know what I've learned, but it's. I watched. I did some supplemental, like, where they did interviews with him on YouTube, where he's like super political. It's like, oh, this guy sounds like Noam Chomsky, but he looks like the expert from The Devil's Reject. Weird. I don't know. I'm kind of thrown here. Ministry was one of those touchstone bands when I was a teenager. It's like, yeah, I like this, and it's really never been copied or followed up on by anyone else like that exact sound.
No, no. I mean, you could say it's a general industrial sound. There's a lot of, like, you could see like Slipknot maybe being a progenitor of Ministry, especially like how Slipknot has like, we got 2 drummers and like 4 guitarists, and like Ministry is doing shit like that just because to turn a lot of this sampled stuff into a live show, you just have to have like more people on more instruments. Otherwise, you're just gonna be playing a tape up there and pretending to play, which they did a couple of times.
Yeah. Ministry's like they always fell more into the pantheon of like what I would call European or German industrial. Like they kind of had that sound, but it was an American band. Because they toured a lot with KMFDM. KMFDM and Ministry kind of like
No, like you can see where they cross, but like KMFDM is like the AC/DC of industrial music. Like they never sound different, but they always sound cool.
Yeah. Ministry, every album was in evolution, and they actually released an album in the late '80s called "The Land of Rape and Honey," when they had people saying Zeke Heil in some of the cuts, and I didn't realize the front art for that album was a picture of like a Nazi concentration camp, just distorted.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, so they were crazy. they were doing like, a lot of front two.
But they weren't like racist or anything. But like they were
no. But
they were
shocking.
Yeah, they were trying to shock you. I mean, they even have stuff later on where they're touring with Ice Cube and like they hated each other because Ice Cube's whole group stole beer from him. But then one night, like the skinheads were at the show and like all of Ministry like beat up the skinheads, and then him and Ice Cube are friends afterwards.
Yeah. This is why, this is one of those groups that never went to a concert. So I'm gonna appreciate this.
Well, the Ministry concerts sound almost tame compared to what it seemed like the intention was to make everything crazy with the Revolting Cocks.
Yeah.
It seemed like anytime the Revolting Cocks went on tour, it was like to create an art piece of mass terror.
Yeah, Revco was wild. Well, I know like Ministry, even when I was in high school, like I think one of the closest they came to us was Chicago. It was like $250 a ticket then.
Huh.
Like, yeah, it was really expensive to go to Ministry, and they only did like 10 shows, maybe in the U.S. It was kind of like, yeah, it's like L.A., some other city in California, a few places out west. Chicago was the only place they stopped in the Midwest, and then on the East Coast. But I mean, again, when you're on the Land of Rape and Honey tour, you're not gonna get like big Indianapolis draw. So that might have been why. That or is just that's what the venue charged, because it's like, well, these lunatics, how much damage is going to be done to Deer Creek Music Center? It's like, yeah, these are expensive tickets.
Well, the first I heard about this book was on a Bill Burr podcast where he's reading the excerpt about the guy who, the one crazy guy who ended up getting run over by a train while waving Zig Heil at it.
That's a way to go out.
Trying to impress kids who knew who he was. He apparently got his foot stuck in the... Yeah, I'm pretty sure he just committed suicide, but whatever.
We can make it fun, but yeah, he simply killed himself.
Talking about like that one crazy girl, and like he butt fucked her in the bathroom and flushed her her clothes down the toilet, and the toilet clogged.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there was some story like that, and they like cut up a bed sheet for her to have clothes.
Yeah, they just cut a hole in a bed sheet, and she just wore that for like 3 days.
With them, for the next, she's some weird groupie. Yeah. I like when he was talking about the guy from, I think it was a guy from KMFDM, the lead singer. Like the KMFDM groupies were just like hardcore goth people. I mean, people literally had like, staples in their face, like that kind of goth.
Yeah.
Take 3 of them into a room, and it's like, yeah, and he was fucking these women, and it sounded like hyenas were mating. It's like, oh, wow, this is nuts.
Oh, let me go grab my book. I want to look at all the highlights I highlighted. So talk amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that when I was reading it and stuff like that. Like, oh, we'll be talking about this later for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just when I think like there's like I'm a man of the world. There's no stories of debauchery that will shock me. And then you read this stuff, it's like, oh, this sounds like an insane asylum just happening out in the streets or something, which is always weird. Weird but necessary. So Conlon is highlighted. So.
but no, I like how he said when he was, almost finishing high school and stuff like that, he went to insane asylum for a year, and it was the best year of his life, probably, or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I was trying to steal these drugs, now I'm just on them 24/7, and I get to fuck anything that moves all the
I learned
time.
a lot about life in that year in the insane asylum. It's like, yeah, apparently.
I didn't know they just put women in insane asylum for being nymphos.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, I guess I didn't remember what year it was, but at the same time, it's like, god damn, I know they used to do that shit.
They did a lot of put people in places back in the 80s and 90s. I went to a few of them. I mean, I didn't have nympho orgy, but yeah, I mean, they did a lot of locking people up back then. Everything was a mental health this or that. And, if they even thought you were slightly off, like you wore a trench coat and duct taped a, tape player to your bike, it's like, yeah, that's how Nathan wound up in some of those places. But, it turns out I wasn't the one. I wasn't the evil guy. It was other people were actually doing evil stuff. I was just trying to fuck with everyone.
It's the guy that wears his socks while he showers. That was the real fucked up guy we missed.
People fucking their sisters and stuff like that was
Oh,
going on.
okay, here. While Colin's looking up this stuff, this is the fucked up story I read this week unrelated to this book.
Okay.
It's a guy that was asking for advice because it was his father-in-law that recently moved in for a short stay with him and his 2 young daughters and his wife because his apartment was flooded. He had known the guy for about 10 years. And so he said one night he woke up in the middle of the night. They have a big golden retriever named Turtle. And that the dog was like whining and barking. It sounded like it was being attacked almost. And so he went to check, and it was in his father-in-law's room beneath theirs. And like the dog was like on its back, and like his dad had, or father-in-law had his hand by its belly, and like was moving it in quick motions. And they like burst in and said, "What's going on?" He was like, "Oh, I'm just rubbing his belly," and like went outside, and the dog seemed kind of off, but it did his business, and went back to bed. And he was just like, "Oh, fine." And then like a couple days later, he comes in and peeks around the corner, and his father-in-law is on the couch naked, jerking off to the dog sitting right in front of him, just
That's
like
wonderful.
full jerking it. And then he like goes back and like slams the door, so his like father-in-law puts his clothes on real quick and acts like nothing's going on. And he's like, "Well, how do I take this dog to the vet and explain to the vet what I need him to check for?" Like, how if the dog's asshole is entirely fine, or like, how do I explain this to my wife? Because he said he already tried to talk to her about it, and she just kind of like told him to quit being an asshole, and basically laughed in his face. And it was like, technically, I think most people's spouses might do that, but I don't know if like how often people sexually abuse dogs. Shit.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pick your hill to die on with that. And, yeah, there's some strange people out there.
Well, because he was like, yeah, I've known this guy for so long. He always was just nice and never seemed odd or anything from every time I've talked to him or hung out with him. It's just weird that it's like, why would you start jerking off to it? And then some people are like, well, maybe he's had a stroke, or maybe he's had some type of brain.
Well, you don't know what's in his mind's eye.
Yeah.
I mean, the dog was just in his way.
He was having a stroke, all right.
Well, because I guess sometimes when you have like brain hemorrhages, it can create odd behavior, or especially odd sexual behavior. So they said maybe at least if your wife won't believe him, at least get him to see a doctor. Maybe he has some type of weird medical condition.
You better find an excuse for this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Reason now. Just give us a reason. We're cool, but we got to have a reason.
Seasonal allergies. That's the reason. Take some Claritin and it'll clear it right up. No more jerking off to the dog.
All right, here I have my highlights and the public highlights. I'll go through mine first.
All right.
So this was there's some forwards from different people from bands, and I think this is the one from. Oh, I can't remember who this is from. Hatebreed? Okay. I'll never forget meeting Al for the first time because when he shook my hand, he had a needle in his arm.
Yeah.
This is Al talking. If you remember the 90s, you weren't there.
Not about right.
This is talking about Gibby. I'm just going to call him Gibby, the guy from Butthole Surfers, who's more crazy than him. And this is after when Al almost died, the second or third time,
Yeah.
and he wakes up, and Gibby's there, and he's the first person to see, and he goes, he's the first visitor. Does he ask, Al, how you feeling, or can I get you something? No, he asks, hey man, got any crack?
Yeah.
And he did. It was in his coat pocket.
As a matter of fact,
I think this is like when he got hospitalized, maybe for when he got the recluse spider bit his arm, and they
Oh.
did a bunch of surgery on him. I think it was that. He also had a toe amputated because a hypodermic needle went into his toe because it fell in his boot, and he didn't know about it, and they had to cut his toe off.
Jesus.
That was
I
weird.
remember that was that. I thought it was infected, but yeah.
Well, it got infected because there was a needle in his toe.
I thought he was shooting it in between his toes. But
No, he talked about like he was trying to be safe. He didn't, so he always broke the needles off his syringes, so other people wouldn't like try to reuse them.
Mm.
And so he thought he threw it in the trash, but it like went into his boot. And because he was so high on pain medication, he went to go put his foot in the boot, and the needle just like went straight into his toe.
Okay.
And he was like, and he never, but he like when he looked at it, he couldn't because the needle just went all the way in. He didn't know it was there.
Oh
and,
yeah.
and then it got infected and gangrenous, and they had to amputate it. And then like when he got the spider bite, like or whatever it was,
Or
Uh,
etc.
like he went in, the doctor's like, yeah, we're just gonna have to cut your arm off. He's like, fuck you, I need that to play. And then they had to do something else. He had to sign a bunch of waivers saying like in case he died, they wouldn't blame the hospital. That's where he got like he hated doctors. Like, yeah, they just want to cut stuff off and not blame.
Well, if you'd stop
By a
sticking.
brown recluse, it turns your tissue necrotic, and it's like rotting.
Yeah.
They probably had to do a bunch of like if we don't get this right, you're gonna get blood poisoning and die. You got to sign a waiver.
This is also about.
Those are
Yeah.
all over here in Michigan.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, they got brown recluse relief. Every year you hear horror stories about. They don't like come into your bed at night. They're like in your shed or something. That's why whenever I clean out my garage, I just I put on a mask, and that stuff you drop in water and it makes smoke.
Yeah.
And that's when I clean my garage. I get one of those from the hardware store because it kills everything in there.
Oh. Yeah, I guess I don't even know. I'm assuming they're probably in Iowa too. If they're in
Yeah, they're
Michigan.
all-
Yeah,
I guess
they're
that's
not
what
as
I'm thinking.
prevalent here, but they are here.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, because my wife freaks out about spiders constantly.
yeah.
So.
So yeah, this is an interview with Mike Scacia. How do you know how to say his name?
Spell it.
Scaccia.
Sounds good to me.
So that's this is like one of the Rats interviews because this is the guy that died on stage
Okay.
during a show, and he actually says in an interview like he lives for going on stage, like that's where he wants to die, and that's what happened.
That's what happened.
But yeah, and this is talking about when they're making Psalm 69, and this is the interview. He goes, Al said Sire gave you $750,000 for the album, and pretty much all the cash went into buying heroin, coke, and crack, and that when the label asked for the record, all you gave them was Jesus Built My Hot Rod. His response was, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because usually in a lot of these and when he's interviewing other people, like people will like rebut like what actually happened, and then this one was like, no, that's exactly what happened.
What's the other side of this? It's like, nah, it's pretty much the truth. Oh, really? Okay. That's nuts.
And how long a time period? Because I can't remember did he have to make that album?
I think it was a few months. I think it was like 4 months or something.
It was a fast turnaround.
But also, I didn't realize like how big Jesus Built My Hot Rod is, because like I always think of Ministry as like NWO as their really big song. Like that's to me.
Oh yeah, Jesus Built My Hot Rod's huge.
Because like if you go on Spotify, like it always lists like it has like numbers that indicate like how popular it is, how many people listen to it, and something. And like Jesus Built My Hot Rod, *1, like 10 times more than any other song.
That's like unofficial NASCAR music. because they try to keep it a family image. But yeah, that shows up.
And these are the public ones here. It's talking about the Eric Erickson. He talks about levels at which abandonment and rejection at various ages manifest themselves later in life. It doesn't really. That's just kind of that's his wife talking about Al,
Yeah.
or that's Angie talking about Al. I thought there was more public highlights than that, but let's see here. Oh yeah, this one's about just basically about media in general. Let's see here. Because if everyone around them is stumbling around like a bunch of brain dead creature, they can keep feeding us this shit, which destroys our individuality and creativity while they shovel up the piles of cash that we throw at them, and that appears to be the price of mass lobotomization. I think this is about like when he was making the the guy from NCIS wanted him to make a song. He's like, you just make what you're feeling, man. I'll take it. And then like, this is terrible. And it's like, I want you to do something like Miss Stigmata. And he's like, you want me to make something? You want me to do an impression of myself? And then like, he just literally sent him Stigmata with one note change. The guy's like, this is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Which I tried to look it up, and I guess that never went anywhere. I don't think they used it in the episode or anything. So.
Yeah, there was a lot of.
I didn't realize, like, that Ministry was used in, like, Stanley Kubrick asked them to be an AI, and so then they were in AI.
Yep.
And then I didn't realize the stuff about, what was it? Oh, like the Hurt Locker stuff. They used 3 other songs for Hurt Locker. I didn't know about that.
Yep.
I guess I don't really remember the soundtrack for Hurt Locker that well, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It was one of their newer albums that used stuff. Yeah, so they're still like fairly prolific. Because to me, they kind of feel like they fell out of popularity, but they're still like just hanging around. Because music is kind of nebulous now, so if something's popular, you don't necessarily know if it is or not or successful.
He works with a lot of people too.
Yeah.
A lot of like producing. He's probably a more prolific producer
Yeah.
than he is a musician.
Well, that's why like we're talking about here, like how music seems to be on a downturn, and like how artists like what they have to do to get money, and it seems like blood from stone. But like he's an artist, but he's also a producer, and it seems that like if you're a producer, you're gonna have like some sort of back end money flow, which his wife really cleared up because people were just stealing money from him because he was just doing drugs all the time.
Yeah, he did. He wasn't a good money manager. It's hard to be when you're on a heroin binge.
So the guy that spent $750,000 in 4 months on drugs wasn't a good money.
Yeah, but he's buying coke for his friends too.
Well, at least he was charitable. But
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it's those guys get wrapped up into. Someone explained it to me. I read a book once that explained like why Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and so many of those people died. And it was actually on a podcast. I heard a guy saying, it's like, okay, imagine you guys love doing this podcast, right? And they're like, yeah. Okay, imagine if we took all the dialogue from this podcast and you just went around country on stage all the time and had to do this exact same podcast, word for word, every time for like 5 years. What do you think you'd be like coming out the other end of that? This guy was talking about touring musicians.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, you fucking go crazy. And they all, like, all the comedians and musicians have all said living on the road sucks. No matter how nice it is, it's terrible. At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, let's do some heroin, let's break up the monotony a little bit.
Well, also, there's like weird kind of like sad accounts in the book where like Al thought like the only way he was interesting to other people basically is if he was on drugs.
Yeah.
And he thought if he was sober that like he was uninteresting. And then like people told him like, no, he's just as interesting sober. He just doesn't think he is. And that's how addicts act. They think they need it to be normal.
Everyone likes me when I'm like this. No, actually, people just like you. You know, locked out of your mind.
But at the end, at the epilogue, he's completely sober. Before that, he's just doing beer because he had some ulcer and they lost like 75% of the blood in his body, and he's bleeding from every orifice.
Yeah, half his stomach's missing. His intestines are all fucked up, and yeah, he's completely sober now. He's still kind of a interesting guy, just knocking around.
Yeah.
Kind of brings me up. I think it was Greg Geraldo that made this a joke, where he was saying, "Is like, yeah, isn't it kind of weird? Like when you're young, you go out partying, you do like all these fucking drugs, and get so drunk, and like, get it all, and make life go away. Like, don't you need that more when you're old and like everything's falling apart and you're bored and life's gone horribly wrong? You need a crutch." Like you need something to keep fucking that wife for 40 years ago. Like with her saggy tits, don't you need coke then? More than you need coke when you're 20 and you can just fuck for hours and not have a problem.
Man, I think that's going to happen to our generation.
What's that?
I feel like, well, I'm not sure. I can't say this for sure, but I feel like my generation was like way more sober than the previous generations.
Probably.
And now we're going to find legal drugs in our later lives and get all about it.
I definitely think you guys, whatever generation you're in,
Let's
was
say-
more sober than mine.
Yeah.
Because I was never into drugs because they weren't available and I didn't have money. But booze was always available and I loved it. But not to excess. I mean, I loved it on the weekends. I didn't like it on Tuesday. You know, it's like, no, we're not getting drunk on Tuesday. That's an alcoholic. But,
Mostly I kind of see it as like, you know, because I'm following wrestling, and a lot of the guys that are at the top of their game now are like my age.
yeah.
And they basically saw the wrestlers who they thought were super cool, and then they read all their biographies later on, and they all died, and like, oh, they all did drugs and ate terribly, and like, yeah, they looked like they're like, you know, they lifted weights like crazy men and did steroids, but that all caught up to them. So like now all the wrestlers now are basically all straight edge. And
Yeah.
like, and all these old guys that still run the companies think they're boring because they want to live.
Live past 36, you fucking insane. I would say drinking's still a big thing for every generation. I wouldn't say it's really gone down too much from your generation to ours. Hardcore drugs, probably. Weed's definitely, I'd say it's probably just as popular too, or at least it's more prolific.
Like, especially with this legalization. That was the other thing I was thinking about the other day. Do you think this whole, like, 21 for tobacco stuff, do you think that's just, like, clearing the way for legal weed across America?
I don't know what the point. I mean, the point of that is just the rampant health problems that causes. Is like, it's terrible. I mean, it's just like, and there's no like, you don't overdose on cigarettes and just die. It's always like protracted illnesses, and so yeah. I mean, I don't know what legal weed does because I don't use weed, so I don't know like what the additive value of having legal weed is. I mean, I know there's some people that'll tell you like it cures all problems. I don't know if that's true, but I just don't. I mean, I know guys that swear by it, and I mean, I had a guy tell me once he builds models better. Like he will go get like some spaceman weed in Ann Arbor and smoke like through a bong, and he says, "I built the best one. I'm so focused." It's like, you should try it. And I said, well, that sounds cool, but I said, I'm not living on a pension. Like I'm actively working. I can't do shit like that. But, yeah, I don't know what that. I don't know what that's gonna do.
No, I don't know. It was just something I think out for our generation too. That like, I feel like we're gonna like, we were trying to reap the benefits of leading a healthy life, and then we discovered it doesn't matter, and now we're just gonna get into drugs at the end of our lives.
Yeah. Once people figure out like there's no 200-year lifespan, no matter how good you are, and I mean, I think with like the younger generations, I mean, I don't know where this country's going. Nowhere good, but it's like a lot of people are gonna find out when they're older, like they're too injured and infirm to work anymore. They have no pension, like no retirement options, and they're just stuck working. I think you're going to see a lot of people like just do hard drugs because it's the only thing that makes life, tolerable.
Time from our 401k.
401 Special K.
And
No.
God knows what kind of drugs we're going to have in 10 years. I
Yeah.
mean, the shit they have now, they got the super powered weed. That's sort of like, at least here in Michigan where it's totally legal, like that's sort of diverted some of the worst stuff. It's like people are smoking weed where you take a hit off a joint and you're just like flying through the cosmos for 10 hours. But who knows what kind of shit they're gonna come up. I mean, like, because methamphetamines was terrible. That's been around a long time, though. It's just changed form over the years. But they have stuff like in that family of ecstasy, Molly, and it's like that keeps evolving into crazy shit. I have people tell me about that all the time. And then what's the other thing that's real big around here? Oh, ketamine. It's like I'm not depressed anymore. I do like a little bit of ketamine. Everyone talks about like just I do a little bit of that or mushrooms, and it's like I don't feel sad anymore. But it's like I'm not doing a lot of mushrooms. I'm not fucked up. I'm just doing a little bit of mushrooms. So I mean, who knows what they're gonna come up with?
Well, I mean, so LSD, acid, mushrooms, they all contribute to something. There's a lot of studies going around saying that it helps prevent Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and dementia later on in life because it seems to activate more brain and neural pathways. That way they don't decay as fast because you're not using them as often. Weed helps with stress, anxiety, chronic pain. Like my stepmom, she basically has to go on a drug every time she loses enough weight that they deem that she'll die if she loses any more weight. And if she just smoked weed, which is basically free compared to $200 a pill for something that has the same drastic effects. So, I mean, all this shit was legal at one point. I know it's probably when it was first discovered, nobody knew what the fuck it was or other stuff, but all of it was legally used in consumer products or war or whatever at one point, and then it was delegalized. So I think just the end game to all this is everything just becomes legal again, just with restrictions and rules and shit.
Well, I mean,
like
if
that.
you listen, they've had guys like on other podcasts that talk about like, well, it was the liquor lobby that got X, Y, and Z, declared illegal, because there was like no laws about cannabis in this country till like what, the 40s.
Yeah,
So I don't know how true that
and it was
is.
classified as a Schedule 1 drug, which is nowhere near where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I like it that marijuana federally is still like a Schedule 1, like right up there with heroin, and it's like, no, that's not what weed is, fucking morons. But that
Like,
was,
I think like the limit you have to like take into your body to kill yourself on weed is basically like an alien, like 5 garbage truckfuls of weed. In, like,
I don't know. It's
2
like if you
minutes.
drink 100 cups of coffee in a day, it'll kill you. So anything can kill you.
Well, yeah, in
if
excess.
you drink a bunch of water, you could die.
Yeah.
What's that called? Water intoxication.
All right. Well, let's quickly talk about Six Underground because
Yeah,
it seems
let's
like
talk about
seems
that.
like nobody liked the movie. So
Well, let me get my things up. Six Underground. I mean, I was watching this movie and I was actually put down the model because I was watching this like, what the fuck am I watching? Because like whenever Ryan Reynolds talked, it's like, oh, this is like some version of Deadpool. I like it when Ryan Reynolds talks in this movie. He's like, he's gonna say something funny or pithy.
yeah.
Everything else was completely unrealistic, stupid. It tried to be dark, like when the getaway driver got impaled by the forks on the forklift at the end. It's like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
But it was like it was supposed to be a theme that carried on through the movie about don't let people die, don't leave people behind. That never really developed, or it did in an obvious way with the sniper guy saving the parkour guy. But it's like, well, you knew that was going to happen. There was no tension. It's like, we're not leaving him. I'm going to save him with a gun somehow. Okay. But yeah, the structure of the movie was, there was a story there, but it was like kind of backdrop for all this action.
Well, it sounded like Andrew's getting confused and he just gave up on it. And I was trying to tell him about how like they have flashbacks, but you don't know they're flashbacks till the end of the sequence where they like say who it was for.
Yeah, I knew what they were doing, but I didn't know why they were like, why are you structuring a flashback this way?
Okay, so like the first setup of the scene where it's like you get through the whole car chase in Italy and stuff, and it goes to Ryan Reynolds like talking about the advantages of being a ghost and doing what you want to do, and then he's in the Red Bull plane just flying all over the place. I thought he was just doing cool shit because he's a ghost, he can do whatever the fuck he wants to do. And then it was like, that's when I almost died. I'm like, oh, it's a flashback.
Yeah.
It's like it worked either way, but you had to wait till the end of the fucking scene to figure out where it fit in the context.
Oh no,
And-
this movie was not structured well in any way at all. Ryan Reynolds seemed to be like, God, I really like $10 million. Paid him to be in this. He's like, I'm just gonna do Deadpool as a billionaire. I was waiting for T.J. Miller to show up, at some point, just come in and get killed or whatever, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, because this is Michael Bay's latest movie.
Yes, funded entirely by the Chinese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was basically made. This is the kind of American action shit that Welgo and Alibaba funds because they know it'll make $1 billion in the Chinese market. They don't know why, because there's no Chinese characters in it. It just
Yeah.
happens in.
Well, I mean, action translate well, and this is a well filmed action movie, like all Michael Bay movies are, and like it's good looking, but it's fucking incoherent and bad.
Brain dead. It's literally like totally.
Well, and also they want to like they portray things as being like everything's too gray, so nobody will enact on everything. But like really, the movie's just so blatantly black and white. Here's the evil guy. Here's the good guy. But he's not a pussy good guy. Like he's a good guy that'll stand up for himself with guns and billions of dollars.
He's dark and he doesn't care if team members die. And this is the dictator of Afghanistan, and we're gonna have a song that we play. And this is how they should have done Syria if we hadn't fucked it up. It's like, what's your message?
Yeah.
What is this fucking nonsense? It was like a movie for retarded people. That's what I-
Yeah, that's a Michael
and
Bay
even-
movie.
And even people that
Yeah.
don't have any cognitive function would be like, "This movie sucks."
I mean, I like that it's like a really expensive hard R action movie,
yeah.
but they did nothing with it.
No, they ruined it. They
Cause
pissed
like,
it away.
cause we just saw the latest Bad Boys movie, and like, it's like a million times better than this movie, but it's still also a stupid action movie.
Yeah.
But at least it has a plot you can follow. You never.
And you
guessing-
like the characters.
Yeah, the characters are actually.
Nobody in here
believable.
do you like. You don't like the good guys, and you don't like the bad guys.
I mean,
The only ones you feel for is when they threw those generals off the building. You're like, oh man, they're up for promotion.
That's Saddam Hussein shit there. Based on real shit.
I mean, it made sense. He's like, I'm gonna kill the people that are most to benefit because that'd just be more in my. It's like, okay, I guess that makes logical sense for an evil guy. So
Yeah. That makes
Yeah.
sense in Trashcanistan or wherever the fuck.
But would you say you can think of one movie that was all about the action set pieces that totally disregarded plot, story structure, and character development, and anybody you'd actually like? to
well, I
see
mean,
in
all
the
the Transformers movies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
except for Bumblebee.
I'm just talking about anything from Ong Bak to anything, just that was all built around just showcasing action sequences. John Wick is probably the best one that does that,
Yeah.
but it actually has good characters and decent story development where you actually can kind of follow it and care about it.
I mean, it does it simply, but at this one, it tries to act like it's complex, but it's not.
Yeah, I kept waiting in this. Because I was watching this, and I was about a third of the way in. I was like, is this gonna turn suddenly, where it's like, oh, all this stupid, unconnected shit I'm seeing is gonna it's gonna twist, and it's like, oh, I didn't see. I was actually expecting, because I didn't read any reviews or anything before I saw it. I just what's my impression?
Wait, what did the reviews say? Because I didn't look up any of those. They just
I
saw.
was like 50%.
Oh,
It's
okay.
I like seeing people die and get shot. Dumb, that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, that was it. But I kept waiting for this movie to turn, because this is obviously a talented cast. This is obviously an expensive movie. It's like, okay, what's the twist here? Oh no, there isn't. It's just fucking dumb. All right, that's fine. But it was disappointing at the same time, because I'm expecting like a Shyamalan, this all makes sense now. And actually, Shyamalan
Right.
done that in 15 years, but
I mean, also, you go back to The Rock. Like, The Rock was a stupid action movie, but it was fun, and you
Yeah.
liked the set pieces. It didn't have to
Rock
make
is like-
sense.
The Rock is my favorite Michael Bay movie. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that movie's perfect for that. It's just not Blade Runner, but it's like, I enjoy this. That's fine. But this movie was just dumb. It was, but I kept waiting for it. It's like, how did they get? Is Ryan Reynolds owe somebody money? I know this guy's smart and he's talented.
Maybe this paid for Deadpool 3 or something.
Yeah, I hope so. Because he'll say that. Like, he'll come out and say shit like that. I will send him an email. Dear Ryan.
Are you okay? Or is your
Yeah,
family
is
safe?
Is everything cool? I'm worried.
So I read conflicting things, and it seemed like this was another Netflix pickup. Like, oh, we'll pay for that because that's not going to make shit. And then some people said it was made for Netflix from the get-go. I don't know which to believe. This seemed like something they picked up, but
I can only go by because when I find something a treasure like this, I usually do a little research, and I just go by the funding and what's happened in the past. And this, when you look at who funded this and who produced it, it's like this is all Chinese money that comes into America, and then the movie flows back to China, and it might make $20 million on Netflix or whatever they paid for it, but it'll make bank in China.
yeah.
And these are like the kind of movies they do. It's like, look, Americans shooting things. And
Like, did it get a theatrical release in China?
I don't know. Yeah, it did. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, any of that stuff that Wogo or Alibaba, like that's part of the government over there in some way or something. You know, whatever their free market is over there. It's coronavirus now, but yeah, this is some because it's like the Pacific Rim and the Transformers. It's like, oh, those movies not great, and then you look it up like the earnings. It's, oh, it made $1 billion in China. Just because, I don't know, there's air conditioning and clean waters in their theater. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. But they like watching stuff like that. Probably because life is really intense over there. And they don't want to think about
Well, I mean, it's like
pain.
it's good special effects and like action translates, and so it like if this was in another language, like if this was a French movie, exactly the same, like we would probably assume it's more intelligent than it actually was.
Yeah. Because of the language barrier, we'd be like, this might have symbolism or a deeper meaning. But for Americans, it's a movie made by Americans, and we know who Michael Bay is because he is, you know, the Aronofsky of our time. Not Aronofsky. Who am I thinking of? I can't remember.
The Russian director.
Yeah, the Russian director. Yeah. So this is the American version of the Stalker guy. Yeah, if this was a foreign film, we'd be like, there's meaning here. But because we know all these people, we know who produced or who made this movie, it's like, yeah, this is stupid. And it really is.
I mean, if it was a foreign film, I might assume the subtitles are off and maybe I'm missing something that way, but considering how it was, just visually how it was shot, I would still think it was a piece of shit. So,
No, if it was a foreign film, if this was all done in French, we'd be like, this is obviously an anti-American piece. This is about American imperialism and how we line up with evil dictators in weird countries that don't exist who have oil. And
This is like nationalism on a private scale expanded to the world, and like you see how it infects the other world. And
oh yeah, we'd have Noam Chomsky like, like, oh, this is really how.
See, this private company is trying to install a democratic dictator.
It's like, oh, this is brilliant, but because it's Michael Bay and it's a bunch of American actors, it's like, yeah, this is dumb in any language.
Is Michael Bay relegated to Netflix now? Because what's his last major Hollywood picture that he was directing?
13 Hours and Pain and Gain before that.
But those have been a while ago, though.
Yeah,
And he produces a lot.
Oh.
yeah, he's got enough money. He's a billionaire, so he's fine.
Well, I like so he was wealthy before he became a director.
Oh,
Because like the first Bad Boys movie was his first theatrical movie, and it was made on a lower budget. Because also at that time Will Smith was a TV actor, so was Martin Lawrence, so they didn't command $20 million a movie.
Yeah.
And so like all like the Porsche they use in the movie, that's Michael Bay's Porsche.
Oh.
Because
That's saving him money.
because he was an ad director, like he did like the Got Milk commercials, like that was his stuff.
Oh.
Like he was a really famous ad director, and you can make bank doing that stuff.
I mean, David Lynch did that between movies to fund, movies.
Yeah, and like Ridley Scott is another famous ad director who moved.
I
to
mean, that
movies.
really explains all the product placement and close up on products in all of his movies and shit. If he was an ad director, because Do you notice, Conley, we were watching the new Bad Boys movie? It had neon displays for CVS and Walgreens
No, I did not know.
in the frames because it was like a hip, shoreline, like all these bars and hotels with neon. Then it had neon CVS plastered in the middle of it, and I'm like, I think that's probably not real, but I don't fucking know. Like, is there a neon CVS sign sitting in front of a bunch of neon bars and strip in Miami? Probably, but who knows? And then there was a neon.
10 richest countries or 10 richest companies in the world. I mean,
Well, then there's a neon Walgreens sign sticking out in the daylight on another street block when that guy, the informant, was getting thrown off the roof.
yeah.
Later on that scene, and
now
I was
they're
like,
merging.
so exactly, was CVS or Walgreens cool with their competitor also advertising in the same movie?
Well, they're not competitors anymore. They're merged. Remember?
Oh, they're same goddamn company now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Walgreens and CVS is so huge, they're inside you. Right now. You just don't know it.
Oh, I was
Uh,
gonna,
That was something that went up before some hearing. Like, should we allow these companies to merge? And Donald Trump was, of course, he just rubber stamped that. Yes.
well, no, because it just doesn't make any sense. Because if you go to CVS here, you literally have to wait like 3 days to fill your prescription because they take so long. But Walgreens, it takes like an hour. It's
Now
a
you'd be waiting 3 days at both locations. for the same company.
damn it.
so before this, he did Transformers: The Last Night, which that was the second Mark Wahlberg Transformer
Oh
movie.
yeah, I never. Yeah.
Great success.
I assume it made money, but not enough.
I hope not, because it looked like a pile of shit.
Yeah,
I was.
I saw the first one; it was okay, but like, but yeah, then that
one
third.
with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. Anthony Hopkins' last theatrical role, I think.
No, I think he was in the Dark of the Moon. Oh no, maybe that was the last. Never mind, you're right.
Anthony Hopkins' last film before retirement, Transformers Last Night.
And then before that, he did 13 Hours, and before that, that was the first Mark Wahlberg Transformers movie. Then Pain and Gain, the first 3 Transformers movies, and then before that, The Island.
Ah, The Island.
There's not many good movies in there.
No, his last good movie. Well, some people like Pain and Gain. I saw some of that. That was
That was
okay.
a shitty movie.
What I liked about it is like it kind of had a lot of unreliable narrator stuff, which I sort of liked. I was like, oh, this is interesting for Michael Bay.
I'd say the premise is definitely outside of his wheelhouse, and it's interesting to see it. But I think it might be more for me. There's just like no characters that seem redeemable in that movie.
Oh no,
I hate those type of movies.
Well, that was the point of the movie. So
yeah.
Yeah. It looks like The Rock is pretty much his last good movie. I don't know. The Bad Boys 2, it's a bad movie with some really exciting action scenes in it.
I mean, The Rock is almost into guilty pleasure territory. Especially if you're a VX gas aficionado. Which, when you realize it's like, well, VX gas is lethal. It doesn't melt you. That's not how it works.
But you gotta make it look cool for the audience.
Yeah, that's just my apocalyptic weapons fandom. It's like, no, you're getting it wrong. They would just turn blue and fall over.
I saw like a anachronism error in Pain and Gain immediately. There's this part. It's supposed to be 1995, and like a SWAT team pops out of a vehicle, and like one of the guys has like an AR-15 with an EOTech scope on it, and like they didn't have those back in '95, right? No, okay, I didn't think so.
Well, what are the odds? Most of the audience was gonna catch that.
No, yeah, he's like, that looks cool. Let's go ahead and use it.
By the way, they're rebranding now.
Oh, they are?
Well, yeah, the EOTech factory is right down the road from my house.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Remember when my EOTech scope fucked up, and it's like I can just go right to the factory, and they had one of their sales reps come out, and I'll just give you a new one. I don't know what happened, but here you go. Here's a new one. He goes, "This isn't battle zeroed. Is that okay?" It's like, yeah, I'm not in battle. Essentially bought it because it looked cool. This is more of a prop for my lack of masculinity.
I have a small penis. Thank you. Good day.
Yes, I have a small penis. And
That's all you have to say. Just
oh, it was weird going in there because you could knock on the door, and like you press the button, and some lady was like, "Yes." I was like, "Yeah, they told me to come down here. I got an EOTech scope, and it's not working." "Oh yeah, you don't have any weapons with you, do you?" I said, "No, just got the scope right here." And she's like, "Okay, you can come in." And she pressed the button. It's like 4 bolts clunked on this door that you couldn't see through. And I walked in, and yeah, they had this like metal tables, like just set it down there, someone will be out to see you. And the guy looked at it and he goes, "I've never seen one break this way." I was like, "Me neither." He goes, "Let me go get you a new one." And yeah, just brought me a new one out. But yeah, what are they called now? Because they were called L3 Communications, and now they're called something else. Everyone's getting ready for the next big $4 trillion debacle in the desert. No one knows what it's going to be, Iran or Saudi Arabia or something.
Have you guys seen any YouTube videos from the recent SHOT Show?
No.
Yeah, I've watched some of the new 5.7 calibered Ruger, and then some of the new 20. It's like the really cheap stuff from Caltech.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that 22. That's like $200.
Yeah, and then also like the weird like foldable like 9mm or 22mm rifle.
Yeah, they've had that for a while, but now they just added the twist thing, so you can
so
keep
that
a
folds
scope
down
on
all
it.
the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only videos I watched so far.
I saw one that the InRange did. It was a gun called the Luvo Alien or something like that, and it's super interesting because like it's like that HKP7 where it's like a gas piston system but in a pistol.
Okay, hold on. Let me look this up. What you're talking about?
It's $5,000.
Jesus.
Reasonable.
Well, because like that, there's no way they can mass produce that thing for a lower price, so they just don't. And so it's all just handmade shits essentially, or hand fitted CNC machine. all
Was
that.
there any
Like one of
cool?
those zero access handguns.
What's that mean?
It basically means it's like, it's straight where you pull the trigger is like.
Oh yeah, it's a really low bore axis.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It has low bore axis, but also the way the slide that goes back, the slide's not like the whole top of the gun. It's just like one piece, and then the top of the gun is straight, so it stays still. So it's almost like the barrel's always straight and never like moves down or whatever.
Yeah, it's
and
like
also,
a pin barrel, like HK
yeah.
to do. Okay.
And then the slide that goes back, it has like a really low mass to it. So like the recoil is like really low. So it's like low bore axis, low recoil return, and also the barrel is always straight.
Shit, is that titanium?
I don't know, probably.
Jesus Christ, they're just fucking with us at this point.
So apparently, like they got out there and they started shooting it, and like they basically were shooting like 50-yard targets, like those little metal plates that are like 5 inches wide, and just like emptying a clip and hitting the whole thing just as fast as they could. And they're like, "Holy fuck, this is real!"
They have to show me that after the podcast.
But then they're like, "It's $5,000, so don't worry about getting it."
That'll never happen.
It's
was there any
completely.
revolvers or anything like that they showed, or was it all pistols and?
So if that's just the stuff I saw from InRange. You can see a lot more stuff from SHOT Show that's all ridiculous hype. That's this is the
it's
new
what-
gun. You'll never need a new one.
I keep looking at Ruger revolvers and thinking I should just buy one and replace my revolver that nobody likes and I don't like, because my wife wants to shoot, but she doesn't want to shoot a pistol because she doesn't like the shells going into her tits. So like I don't know.
I don't know, like Rock Island Armory, like it's out of the Philippines.
Yeah.
They make like their stuff's like fine, but it's really low priced. So
No.
Yeah.
Because I knew like Taurus and Ruger are pretty much like the lower price
yeah.
handguns around the United States.
I never hear any good things about Taurus. I know the Rock Island Armory seems to be okay because it's in the Philippines, so they're paying people like they're paying 10 people $5 to look at a gun rather than whatever Taurus is doing. Where they're spending. They only give you $5 to 7 people. They're just putting more people in the Philippines on it.
No, I'll have to look that up because I've also been looking.
Well, I've been looking at them because they're the only ones that make a 1911 that's like affordable.
Oh,
And I know like some of it's not all metal, some of it's plastic to save price, but I know it's reliable enough for the price.
so it's not the Sig Sauer one I want that's like $1,500.
No.
Like
No.
I don't
It's
think
not the
I'll ever
best,
know
but
this.
it works.
unless I like somehow like luck out and win the lotto or get a giant tax return, I don't think I'll ever be able to afford a $100 handgun ever again in my
No,
life.
because you're never going to use it. So.
No, I don't even use the ones I own already. Because I really was interested in that $200 handgun once I saw the Caltech thing, but I'm like, oh yeah, my wife will never shoot that, so there's no sense in me buying a $200 $22 handgun. I mean, the ammo would be cheap as shit, which would be nice. But I was really
Just
interested.
just get her a shooting burqa.
The 5.7 Ruger though was really interesting too, because I think the MSRP on that was $4.99.
Yeah, but do you know the price of the ammo?
Yeah, the ammo is like
It's like
fucking
$1.50 a round.
less, yeah, so.
Oh, is that weird? Yeah, that Fabrique Nationale armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how one guy was demoing it and talking about like, oh yeah, the first like year of production when they started making this ammo for consumers, they gave you the ones that could go through bulletproof vests. They stopped doing that. I'm like, well, yeah, no shit.
Well, that's kind of what that round's supposed to do, but
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just I mean, it's steel core, so it's supposed to go through all the fucking shit, and I don't know.
well,
why
as,
they
as the rifle throttle or rifle neck or whatever on it, it's supposed to be essentially a pistol caliber rifle round.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, their theory now is that the Ruger is out now. They're not just at the FN. That it will get cheaper format to fire because there'll be more people calling for it. It's the,
Yeah, I think the Ruger one's like $900 and the F1 one's like $1,700 for a handgun. But I mean, that's that stuff. There's a market there for the rich people that'll buy
when
it.
it starts costing as much to shoot that around as a high powered rifle, I sort of tap out. Like, well, I like the new Ruger Target because I bought my son one of those Ruger Target pistols last year, and now they've got the new one out with a 10-inch barrel. It's the same pistol, 22 caliber with a 10-inch barrel. It's like, that's pretty cool. Put a silencer on the front of that.
Ruger has a lot of interesting stuff because, I mean, it is like the #1 arms manufacturer in the world, or like consumer wise, or I'm not sure.
I would see Colt went out of business 2 years ago. And yeah, I think Ruger's like filled a gap there.
But like a lot of Ruger stuff is it's supposed to be inexpensive, but they find really clever ways to make quality products inexpensively.
Well, the thing with Ruger is they make a lot of the same stuff. It's all made in America for the most part, and they've been making the same stuff for so long. Just the cost comes down because of the quantity they can get out to the market.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with Ruger revolvers. And even some of their automatics, especially like the 22s and stuff. Now, if I was going to buy like a 1911 or a 45 caliber handgun, Ruger would not be the brand I would go to, or 9mm either, because their automatics they're kind of shitty, because they are cheaply made. But their revolvers and stuff, and some of their target ammos or target guns are pretty good.
Well, they have that new one. They have the Ruger Precision rifle, where it's like $1,000 rifle, but it's like for that kind of rifle, that price for what it does, like you're getting like a $3,000 rifle for a third of the cost.
Oh yeah.
But but not everybody has a mile-long shooting range to shoot targets with. So
Yeah, you gotta. Oh.
well, if I had 50 grand, I know like there's like 10 guns I would like to buy, but I don't have 50 grand lying around to buy like an automatic Benelli shotgun and a bunch of other shit that'd be really cool to own and shoot.
Well, let's see. We done talking about guns?
Yeah.
Sure.
The new Star Trek came out.
Oh yeah.
Watch
Star Trek Picard.
Star Trek Picard.
I think it already has the second season greenlit too.
Yeah.
And I must say, I just watched it. I didn't read all the reviews because I know it's like this angry culture we have now. Shit.
Well, I'd say if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, the reviews are mostly positive. But after watching it and I'd say enjoying it, I saw all the negative reviews. I'm like, it's like, and like, so a lot of there's a difference between like criticism and like enjoyment.
Yeah.
I can read the criticism like, yes, all those points are valid. I still like the show.
Yeah, I mean, I was hopeful for this show because
Well, we both have low expectations because of how overproduced and underwritten Discovery is.
I'm not going to say I didn't have low expectations of this because of who was involved with it. I mean, especially just Patrick Stewart alone, like he didn't have to do this.
Yeah.
He's a guy. He's like 80. He's almost 80. He's really kind of been, I don't know, it's just sort of out to lunch on the whole Star Trek franchise. I mean, the last thing that he did was Nemesis,
Yeah.
almost 20 years ago. So he didn't have to do it. Brent Spiner didn't have to do it. None of these people had to do it. So they either we can assume they just all run out of money, or what I think happened is they're like, oh, this might be a good idea. I like it. I'm sure there's money in it for them.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, this was, and Picard has always been my favorite Star Trek character. I've always liked Picard. I've really wanted to see him kind of play out, because he's like the most human Star Trek character they've ever written. Because he's this guy he's a flawed person, and he's like socially awkward.
Well, yeah, in like early seasons, he's just like he's kind of a hard ass who's occasionally enjoyable. And then like as you go on, you learn more about him, because the show's not necessarily about TNG is not necessarily about like long form character development, but you kind of just get that because the actors are actors and they want to do that.
Yeah.
And in here, it's immediately like, oh, this show is pretty much it's about a mystery, and then it's about character interactions. It's not really about action, even though immediately they have some cool. We blow up Mars, and then we have some cool kung fu stuff. But other than that, it's not really about that.
Yeah, it's like it's there, but
I like the Romulan lady with an Irish accent.
kind of weird. There's definitely some weird stuff going on with this show, but
Yeah, the mystery is not stupid yet. It's a mystery, so it's like, I wonder what's going on here. There's a lot of things that we can read into.
this is one of the few shows where I actually have an inside track. I'm not going to say anything because it's actually not that big of a deal. It's communicated to me through another party. I know someone who works on the production of this show. And like a year ago, when this thing went full stop production, which is like not normal for a show. This thing went full stop and then it restarted again. But yeah, I know someone who works on this show, and not on the writing side of it, but someone who's actually like there, and it's like, hey, I heard this on the internet. What did so and so hear? I'll get back with you on that. And then I hear back. I don't report it, but it's like, yeah, I knew some things that were going on with this show and why they were going on, and but I will say, like, the end product so far, first episode, it's like, I like it. It's dark, it's weird. They're changing direction. They're still stuck in that Discovery kind of Abrams-verse style, which is because everyone, I know some people thought it's like, oh, they're gonna reshoot the Next Generation. It's like, no, they're not. They don't shoot soap operas on TV anymore. Everything looks like it's a movie. This looks like
widescreen and everything's shiny.
Yeah. This is shot like a movie, and and we can't glean a lot out of it. It's just like a first episode introduction. But my impressions of it, just as a consumer who sat down and watched this for an hour, was I liked it. I like seeing Patrick Stewart play this character.
So how much are you in?
A little overly dark. But see where that goes.
How much do you know about Star Trek? Are you a fan, or are you just like know nothing about it?
No, I mean, I know more about the reboots recently and stuff.
Okay.
That's really about
Would you ever watch like TNG when you were a kid, or Deep Space Nine at all?
I've caught like a few episodes of like Deep Space Nine and TNG, but not anything.
So, so the thing they have here is like you have sort of like Undiscovered Country. You have the Romulus, the suns in Romulus are going to blow up.
Okay.
And so they have to evacuate all the Romulans.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Starfleet doesn't want to necessarily do that without because they're suspicious of the Romulans, and they're going to relocate all the Romulans to Earth. So then we have like an immigrant that kind of parallels current day things. So that's interesting. And then you have a terrorist attack by, what do you call them? Synthetics. So like Data.
Mm-hmm.
And then all synthetics get banned. And all synthetic research? Like, are there still AIs and stuff? Well, there has to be, right? Yeah. But just not.
They never really formally had AIs in the Star Trek universe, other than what Noonien Soong created with Data and Lore.
Well, like the computer, right?
No, those were just interactive.
Okay, yeah. I guess they didn't really develop characters.
They developed sentience.
Yeah,
that only Soong could do for some reason.
And so we meet this girl she basically becomes Jason Bourne, where she's just like a normal person, but then like she almost gets killed, and then she just like suddenly, kills all these guys, and it's like, why did I do that? I don't know why. And then it's like, oh, and they talk about banging synthetics, and it's like, oh, she's a synthetic, and so she doesn't know it. But the thing is, she just looks like a human being, like she's flesh and blood, and that's Picard's wondering. It's like, can you make a synthetic that's out of flesh and blood? And that's kind of like the question that you get left off on.
So next episode, Picard's just neck deep in kidnapped victims and dead bodies and synthetic parts. Like, nope, you can't do it.
Well, she gets blown apart in a very gory way where you can see her skeleton and her skin fly off.
Oh.
But apparently she had some cloaking mechanism so the cameras didn't catch it, but Picard saw it. And then, what's that?
I said, yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, somebody wrote the script and like, fuck, we need to explain that away. Because either it's a conspiracy or it's not. So,
Yeah.
Starfleet hid this, right? Yeah, because now Picard and Starfleet are banging heads because Picard's all about like, we need to help the Romulan people, and then Starfleet gets all weird about it, and then Mars got blown up, and then so people are mad about that. So there's like a 9/11 allegory there, but yeah, then you find out that the girl he's trying to help, she has a sister, and then that's where they leave off, and you see Romulans are like picking up pieces of the planet that exploded and trying to rebuild Romulan, but as a Borg cube.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially that's what it looks like.
But I assuming they're just using Borg technology to try to rebuild their planet.
Well, they're using Borg technology to. Well, the question you got to ask yourself is: this the Romulan government? Does that exist, or is this the Tal Shiar, they were always evil?
Wait, who are the Tal Shiar?
That's basically the Romulan equivalent of the CIA, but
okay,
they were the government at the same. They were so closely because remember when was it Tasha Yar, her evil daughter, came back and she was like one of the head people in the Tal Shiar.
Okay.
So they were always trying to infiltrate the Federation and fuck with the Klingon Civil War to draw the Federation. So yeah, they're like the KGB and the CIA all rolled into one. So you don't know if that's like, are these the Romulan people? Or is this some remnant of the evil government they had that's trying to hijack Borg technology so the Romulans can again be in a dominant position, even though Romulus has been destroyed by a supernova that may or may not have been caused by time travel. There's weird.
Because also I don't know, like, it looked at the what they're building to seem to be a collaborative effort between races, but also I have no idea.
Yeah, it doesn't. You don't know from the first episode. You don't know.
No.
What you do know from the first episode, what I really like, is there's a lot of the Next Generation touchstones. I mean, the first scene in the movie basically opens up with one of the songs Data was singing at the wedding between Riker and Troy, when they were nothing but blue skies, and he was, remember when Data was singing those songs at the beginning of Insurrection? And then they open up with them playing poker, which, if you remember, that's how the Next Generation ended. Was Picard finally showed up. He felt socially enabled enough to show up and play poker with the rest of his crew. And basically, the Next Generation ended. The end of all good things, Picard is playing poker. Finally. Data's dealing cards.
And they're doing it on the Enterprise D.
Yeah, they're doing it on the Enterprise D. And so the series opens with that. And see, poker was always a thing with Data all throughout the Next Generation, all the episodes, because poker was one of those things that combined analytics and mathematics with bluffing and being human, which was something Data always was trying to understand. Like, what's a bluff? What's a tell? It's like, I know how many cards are in this deck. I know how many times I've dealt them. How's Riker still beating me? It's like, well, because he's lying to you. He's using social interaction, all shit you don't understand. So Data was always playing poker, and he was always painting. If you remember in those episodes where he learned how to dream, and I forget which season it is, it was Dr. Soong, as a young man, was painting, and Data was having a dream, and he's like, "What does this painting mean?" And he's like, "That's up to you to interpret," you know. And so everything from the Next Generation that involved with Data becoming more human is referenced in Picard in the first episode. And a lot of it's slow moving, all of it's dream sequences. It's all left for you to interpret. But I like it that they included that.
Yeah.
It shows they're at least like acknowledging that, hey, this was popular in the 90s, and it was, you know, shot like a soap opera, and it was pretty simplistic storytelling that didn't often carry over. But, you know, these were the things that were important, and this is what made Picard the character he is. So they did a lot of that. I like that. Now, where I've heard the first 4 seasons are pretty much a home run, but then I've heard after that it gets kind of dumb.
I mean, first 4 episodes?
First 4 episodes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's true or not, but so far I'd have to say episode 1, I really like what they're doing. I'm not going to just throw my arms around it and say it's the best thing ever, because I got to see the end of the season, but you know, I can see as I was watching and I picked up on all these points, it's like, oh, they're directly referencing the Next Generation. They're not creating their own canon. They're not throwing everything out that I know of. They're like going.
Well, we see the next on stuff. We see all cameos from like a lot of the next gen class. So.
Well, Jonathan Frakes is directing like a bunch of these.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's what he does.
Yeah,
he's a TV director.
Yeah, and
he directed successful movies, or at least one of them.
Yeah, he directed the Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
Terrible movie. He did direct it, but.
Oh, was it like a live action remake of it or something? Okay.
With Bill, the guy who died, the guy who played Hicks in Alien.
Yeah.
Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the main guy in that. But anyway, I would have to say, like, well, episode 1 met my expectations.
Yeah.
They did a good job. We'll see what happens. And that's all I have for this week.
I have so much more, but we won't get into it.
All right. Well, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast is Nathan.
Sconlin?
Andrew?
Goodbye, America.